Part 18. Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries. Author, MRMO. Chapter 172. That's right, if you don't practice well in the future, I, the teacher, will punish you. Yakami Ryuzyuk smiled and scratched Ino's nose. Then how are you going to punish me? Ino said with a blushing face. Some pictures couldn't help but appear in her mind. What are you thinking? Ryusuke Yagami could tell at a glance that Ino was thinking about some unhealthy scenes. He stretched out his hand and tapped her head lightly, and then said seriously, okay, let me see your strength next. It's very convenient. Next, I will arrange tasks for you according to your strength. Ah. Going to do it again. Shikamaru looked uncomfortable. For him with a lazy personality, this is obviously increasing his amount of exercise for the day. It's too torturous. Training ground number 2, somewhere. Ryusuke Yagami separated a wooden clone. Let the wooden clone test the actual combat ability of Class 10. Remember, you must fight with the belief of killing my wooden clone, show your best condition and strength, and do not take advantage of the opportunity to fish. If I find someone fishing, the punishment will be to run around Konoha for 20 years. Lock up. Ryusuke Yagami put his hands in his pockets and said to the 3 people in Class 10 in front of him. Shikamaru rolled his eyes when he heard this. This was obviously aimed at him. Because among the 3 of them, the one who knows how to fish secretly is also it's him. Start. As Yagami Ryusuke began to fall, the 3 people in front of him disappeared instantly. Seeing that the 3 people were hiding well, Yagami Ryusuke also smiled and nodded. Go ahead and try their level. He said 3, 6, 3 to the wooden clone. The wooden clone nodded, and then disappeared in a flash. This is not a training to grab the bell, but a test for the actual combat ability of the 10th class. After all, Yagami Ryusuke will not accept any D-level missions for Class 10 to do handyman work. The most recent ones are also C-level missions, or even start with B-level missions. Therefore, this requires Ryusuke Yagami to understand the level 10th mission very well. Given the strength of Team 10, or else they would take on a mission that was obviously beyond their capabilities, Ryusuke Yagami, the leading jonin, would not be able to personally take action at that time. How could the purpose of training them be achieved? On the training ground, Yagami Ryusuke's wooden clone has been surrounded. Shikamaru is the brains of Class 10. Once he gets serious, even if Class 10 is not very strong, he can still defeat the strong with the weak, and his dressing strength is far superior to them. Opponent. Ryusuke Yagami observed their various tactical arrangements from a god's perspective throughout the whole process, with admiration in his eyes. In terms of tactical arrangements, Ryusuke Yagami was far inferior to Shikamaru. After all, his battles relied on everyone. It is the crushing of absolute power. If you are weaker than me, then you are dead. What if you are stronger than me? Sorry. I have 50-50 ability to force you to the same level as me. However, so far Yagami Ryusuke has not yet encountered any enemy who can let him use his 50-50 ability. But it will be hard to say in the future. Not to mention Kaguya Itsutsuki, the goddess of the moon who has been sealed on the moon for thousands of years. Just the planet Itsutsuki among the Itsutsuki clan on the list, there are probably those who are invincible at the 6th level. After all, the Itsutsuki clan has been developing for who knows how many years. In addition, each of them has the ability to become immortal, making them the accumulation of power of some people has reached an extremely terrifying level. Even the existence of terrifying bosses above the 6th path level cannot be ruled out. In the memory of Ryusuke Yagami, the Itsutsuki clan has always been a mysterious existence in the world of Naruto. At present, there are only a few Itsutsuki who have appeared. The strongest person in this clan, the leader of the Itsutsuki clan, I don't know where he is. He has never appeared at all. Maybe he is a person whose strength exceeds the 6 paths level, the terrifying boss. Therefore, even if Ryosuke Yagami is now very powerful, enough to dominate the ninja world, even if the fourth ninja war breaks out, he will not fear anyone. That is, only the Rokudoban and Teruotsutsuki is a little more troublesome. As for Rakudo Obito, forget it. That guy's strength is far inferior to that of Rakudo class and Otsutsuki Kagaya. According to Yagami Ryosuke's estimation, Rakudo class's strength should be in the late 6 paths level. That is, compared to at this stage, Ryosuke Yagami is one level stronger. As for Kagaya Otsutsuki, her strength is probably close to the peak level of the 6 paths class. However, Kagaya Otsutsuki's combat experience is too rubbish. She is completely different from the 6 paths class. Fabi. Even if he is stronger in terms of physical strength, if we really fight, he probably won't be able to beat the 6th class. If Black Zetsu hadn't sneaked up from behind and said something to Madara that was heartbreaking. Even at that time Kagaya Otsutsuki, after breaking out of the seal, he would probably be taught by the 6 paths class. After all, the Ten Tails was still in the 6 paths class at that time. Otsutsuki Kagaya's strength was not at its peak in that state. Coupled with the battle experience, it stretched her hips. It's normal if you can't beat the 6 course class, but it's only if you can't beat it that there's a problem. However, in the ninja world, in addition to Kagaya Otsutsuki, there is also an Otsutsuki Ishiki. I just don't know where this guy is hiding. Ryosuke Yagami doesn't know much about Otsutsuki Ishiki. This guy is a character who only appeared in the Incombustible Bruto novel. Legend has it that he is a member of the Otsutsuki clan who came to the ninja world with Otsutsuki Kagaya. And he is also Otsutsuki Kagaya's boss. His status is the same as Otsutsuki Momoshiki and Otsutsuki Kinshiki. But because of lack of brains, Otsutsuki Kagaya cut off the fruit of the sacred tree, so he had to fake his death and hide it for thousands of years. The ninja world has been planning to plant the sacred tree again and regain everything it has lost. Otsutsuki Ishiki is very strong and has special magic. His left eye is a white eye, and his right eye is an unknown person. Eyes, his magic was born from his right eye. At the same time, Otsutsuki Ishiki also mastered an ability called Contract. It is also very powerful. He is known as the founder of the tattoo era after cosmetic contact lenses. But what exactly are cosmetic contact lenses and tattoos? Which one is stronger? It's hard to say. Anyway, Ryosuke Yagami wants them all. No matter which one is stronger, as long as I have them all, it doesn't matter. Ryosuke Yagami vaguely remembers that this Otsutsuki Ishiki looks like Orochimaru, has been reincarnating and looking for a suitable container. But because he is too strong, it is difficult to find a container. He remembers that there seems to be a guy named Sixuan or Sixian, who seems to be a person of Otsutsuki Ishiki. And Otsutsuki Mu Ishiki also established a shell organization. However, Ryosuke Yagami has not heard of this organization in the ninja world for the time being. Maybe it is still in the dormant stage? Or maybe it has not been established yet. Who knows? Anyway, Ryosuke Yagami has not found it. It seems that this Otsutsuki Ishiki has a second 10 tails, which he has been hiding in a different space. If I can find this different space, I can swallow the power of this 10 tails. Ryosuke Yagami thought to himself. The 10 tails seems to be particularly scary and high-end in the ninja world. But in fact, this thing is mass-produced by the Otsutsuki clan. It is like livestock in a breeding farm. To read Bao's Huang novels, go to Fila Novel Network, they are mass-produced in batches, and then taken to other planets by the Otsutsuki clan for planting, to grow sacred trees and bear the fruits of the sacred trees. The Otsutsuki clan, what you want is always the fruit of the sacred tree, not the 10 tails. The 10 tails are too low-end in the eyes of the Otsutsuki clan. Just like chickens in a chicken farm, Normal people will not catch them directly. A chicken is eaten raw, right? They will kill the chicken first, then clean and cook it. Finally, they will taste the delicacies cooked by the chicken. The relationship between the 10 tails and the fruit of the sacred tree is the same as chickens and chickens, the delicacies cooked are the same. Compared with the Otsutsuki clan, these ninjas in the ninja world are still in the stage of taking care of hair and drinking blood. They only want to become the 10 tails Jinhyuriki. But they don't want to use the 10 tails. Plant a sacred tree and then eat the fruit of the sacred tree. However, this is actually an information gap. After all, these people in the ninja world do not understand the 10 tails and the sacred tree at all. Coupled with preconceived concepts, the 9-tailed beasts do not. It's because they are sealed within the Jinchuriki that they can exert stronger strength. Then the 10 tails, a combination of the 9-tailed beasts, can be used in this way. So, becoming the 10-tailed Jinchuriki, it has become the consensus of those ninjas in the ninja world who know the existence of the 10 tails, including Uchiha Madara and Uchiha Obito. They have all become the 10 tails Jinhyuriki. They feel that they have mastered the ultimate power. But in fact, they just mastered a sapling. Yagami Ryusuke also wants to use the 10 tails to plant a sacred tree, and then swallow the fruit of the sacred tree to gain the power of the sacred tree fruit. But that thing is not easy to operate. He also didn't know how to plant the sacred tree. Either ask Otsutsuki Kagaya or Otsutsuki Ishiki about this. No matter which one it is. Currently, Ryusuke Yagami is out of reach. And he doesn't have the 10 tails either. At present, he only got 1 tail and 9 tails, and they were still one size smaller. Still needs time to grow. It would be nice to have the ability to travel through space. Ryusuke Yagami thought. He was not talking about the space-time ninjutsu such as the Flying Thunder God Jutsu. He was talking about the pupil technique similar to Obito's Kamui. Moreover, it must be able to discover the coordinates of unknown alien space. It can't just be anchor a place. Suddenly, Ryusuke Yagami's left eye felt a little cold. He reached out and touched his eye. Cooldown is over. Yes, my fairy body is about to evolve to the intermediate stage, and its vitality has increased by 500%. The cooling time of the eye plunging technique in the left eye is related to my vitality. As my vitality increases, the cooling time is shortened. There is nothing wrong with it. The original cooling time of half a year has now been shortened several times. Ryusuke Yagami was happy. This meant that he could plunder the second eye technique again. Just choose Kakashi's Sharingan. Anyway, Kakashi's Sharingan has always been a burden to him. Except for the last stage when Obito returned from the Pure Land and gave him the eye, it cannot be improved at other times. His strength is actually a drag. Ryusuke Yagami quickly determined the target of the second plunder. He chose Kakashi's powerful kaleidoscope. Just in time. Kakashi is in the village. And because Sasuke defected, Naruto was accepting Jiraiya's, therefore, only Sakura is left in Class 7. It is obviously impossible for one person to establish a genin team. Therefore, Kakashi is very empty now. As for Sakura, she may be assigned to she will be a transfer student in other genin teams. It is also possible to find 2 more genin who do not have a team to come over and form a new 7th team with her. Anyway, Naruto and Sasuke will not return. They followed Menma Uchiha away. One followed Jiraiya. They all had a better destination. Sakura was left alone. Just when Yagami Ryusuke's thoughts were distracted. On the other side, the 3 little ones from Class 10, he was already fighting with his wooden clone. Under the layout of Shikamaru 0.4, even though the wooden clone showed the strength of an ordinary jounin, it was still plotted by the 3 people and controlled by Shikamaru's secret shadow technique. It's now. Shikamaru shouted. In an instant. Koji directly used the family's doubling technique, his arm instantly became huge, and he smashed it hard towards the controlled wooden clone. Boom! There was a loud noise. The ground shook 3 times. When the dust fell to the ground, Shikamaru discovered that nothing had happened to the controlled wooden clone. It was just that its 2 legs had been planted into the ground. Shikamaru was speechless. Koji's full blow failed to even damage a single hair on Ryosuke Yagami's wooden clone. This is too much. Brush. At this time, Yagami Ryosuke's figure also appeared in front of them. Yes, your cooperation is very good, especially Shikamaru's tactical arrangements, which are outstanding. Ryosuke Yagami praised the 3 of them a few words, then dispersed the wooden clones, leaving a big tree in place. Let's go and pick up the mission. I already have a general understanding of your strength. Class 10 will mainly focus on B-level missions. Occasionally, I will also pick up some C-level missions for you to relax. As for D-level missions, forget it, I won't pick it up again. Yeah. Ino jumped up happily. I've long been tired of those D-level missions, they're cumbersome and tiring. Ino said happily. Her point of view was also recognized by Shikamaru and Koji. They also felt the same way. Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries. Author, MRMO. Chapter 173. Konoha, Mission Hall. Not all of Konoha's commissions are handed over in the Hokage's office. If that were the case, would the Hokage be busy to death? After all, there are so many ninjas in the village, and they hand over tasks countless times every day. If everyone really wants to be handled by the Hokage, then the Hokage will not have to do anything else all day long. As long as he is responsible for this one, he will be busy enough. Therefore, the village actually has a special hall responsible for handing over tasks, and there are also special ninjas responsible for this job. In the past, this job was handled by ninjas from the Sarutobi clan. But now, the responsibility has been handed over to other ninjas. Lord Yagami. The Chunin in front of me, who should be from the Yamanaka clan, saw Ryosuke Yagami coming with the people of Team 10. He quickly stood up and said hello respectfully. You know, Ryosuke Yagami's prestige in the village is unrivaled now. That's right. One sentence from him is more effective than 100 sentences from Tsunade, the Hokage. Give me a B-level mission, either assassination or escort. Ryosuke Yagami said. With a status like his, he no longer needs to do whatever tasks are given by others, but directly assigns them himself. Please wait a moment, Lord Yagami. Hearing this, the Chuyunin of the Yamanaka clan immediately searched for a mission that met Ryosuke Yagami's requirements on the mission list. Soon, he found a mission that met the conditions, which was an escort mission. Lord Yagami, there is a mission here that requires escorting a caravan to the Kingdom of Iron. I wonder if the talisman meets your requirements, Lord Yagami. The Chuyunin of the mountain clan handed a mission scroll to Ryosuke Yagami. Ryosuke Yagami opened it and looked at it. After making sure that there was nothing wrong, he accepted the mission. The 10th class took over this mission. Ryosuke Yagami said. Okay, Lord Yagami, I will register you right now. The Chuyunin of the mountain clan in front of him quickly completed the registration, and then handed a mission guide to Yagami Ryo 18suke. Thanks. It is my honor to be able to help Lord Yagami. Farewell to this Chuyunin. Ryosuke Yagami left the mission hall with Team 10. Meet at the entrance of the village in an hour. Now you go back and prepare. Ryosuke Yagami said to the 3 of Ino. The 3 nodded, and then went home to prepare. After all, this is their first B-level mission. They don't want to think about their performance during the mission. Too bad. Within the Mito clan's territory. Confirmed. Well, it has been confirmed that Team 10, led by Ryosuke Yagami, will leave the village today to perform an escort mission to the Kingdom of Iron. Okay, I have also let the news out, this time Ryosuke Yagamai is definitely dead. In the room, three figures are sitting together, plotting something. These three people are Zenjin's Hokage advisor, Mito Kadoen, and Koharu, who have been dismissed from their posts, and the head of the Shimura clan. Seizo Shimura. Since Tsunade came to power, the families behind us Konoha elders have been suppressed. I know that Tsunade dares to do this because Ryosuke Yagamai is behind her to support her. This time, as long as we succeed in killing Ryosuke Yagamai with a borrowed knife, Tsunade will never dare to be so arrogant again. Shimura Seizo said with fierce eyes. The Shimura clan has been in such a difficult time during this time. Because of Shimura Danzo, their entire family has been suppressed by other ninja clans in the village. Even the civilian ninjas who usually look down on them, now I dare not give them a good look. There are also people who worship Yagamai Ryosuke, and Shimura Danzo had rumors about Yagamai Ryosuke before, so they came to the door of the Shimura family to throw rotten eggs. This caused them Shimura. The front door of the family has been stinking for several days. This is simply unreasonable. Don't worry, they won't be happy for long. I admit that Yagamai Ryosuke is very strong, but what if he is stronger alone? Can the ninja villages of the four major countries be suppressed? Mito Kadenyan sneered and said, the stronger he shows, the more fearful he will be in the ninja village and they will want to get rid of him quickly. If he just hides in the village and doesn't go out, that's okay. But now that he is so arrogant and dares to leave the village, it means that he is not far from death. To be honest, what happened last night really scared a few of them. The strength shown by Ryosuke Yagamai was really terrifying. However, it was precisely because of this that they wanted to get rid of Ryosuke Yagamai more and more. Who told them not to be on the same side as Yagamai Ryosuke? If Yagamai Ryosuke is not eliminated, how will they and the family behind them survive in the village in the future? Maybe in another 10 or 20 years, Konoha there will be no more Shimura clan, Mito clan, or Tencho clan. Therefore, they have to do this. The stupid Sarutobi clan didn't dare to resist. If Hiruzen was still alive, he would definitely be angry to death from them. Koharu said with a cold face when he went to bed. They had also contacted the Sarutobi clan in a vague way before. But the clan leader of the Sarutobi clan seems to have been frightened out of fear. They simply did not dare to resist the current high-level officials of Konoha. Especially after what happened last night, he directly cut off contact with them. When he went to bed, Koharu felt angry. Once upon a time, they and Sarutobi Hiruzen were the closest friends. Unexpectedly, Sarutobi Hiruzen is dead now. The family behind him was so cowardly, it was a waste of the resources that Hiruzen Sarutobi gave them in the past. Don't even think about it, now the Sarutobi clan has been so suppressed. If only a few more decades had passed, the village would have there can still be a place for Sarutobi's clan in it. What? Isn't this just slow death? Instead of doing this, it's better to take a gamble. Moreover, their chances of success are not small. Although Ryosuke Yagamai's strength is so terrifying, he is simply not as strong as a human being. But how long can he maintain such peak condition? Wasn't it true that the Sandaime Raikage, who was as powerful as the Sandaime Raikage, was killed by tens of thousands of ninjas in Iwagakure village? Although Ryosuke Yagamai is stronger than the Sandaime Raikage. But this time he has to face more than just Iwagakure. But the four major ninja villages in the entire four major countries. They have already passed on the news, and many spies in the village also witnessed the battle yesterday. I believe that the Kage in the ninja village know what to do as long as they are not stupid. After all, this is a rare opportunity to deal with Ryosuke Yagamai. To read exciting novels, go to Fila Novel Network. They can't possibly not grasp it, right? Sand Hidden Village. In Kazekage's office. Because the fourth generation Kazekage died not long ago, the position of Kazekage has not been decided yet. At this time, In Kazeki's office, all the senior executives of Sunagakure village were discussing something. Everyone, take a look. These are two pieces of information that were sent back from Konoha. One was sent back by our spies, and the other was secretly given to us by one of Konoha's own people. After reading it, we will discuss it again. Grandma Cho sat on a chair and looked at the village senior officials in front of her and said. She had already retired and was about to take care of herself. But this time the Kazekage was killed and the village was leaderless. So she had to go back to the village again. Come to the front line and take charge of the overall situation. Soon, everyone in the office has read the two pieces of information in their hands. Is this true? Is that Yagami Ryusuke really that powerful? Is Mudun really that powerful? Really? Are you exaggerating on purpose? After reading these two pieces of information, these people expressed doubts about the contents of the application. The information sent back by our own spies should be correct, and there are spies from other villages in Konoha, and they also saw the battle last night. Grandma Cho tapped her cane and said, I have contacted Oniki from Iwagakure village before, and the spies in their village got the same information, so the information about Ryusuke Yagami's strength should be true. Is this still a human being? Was Senju Hashirama that strong back then? Terrible. We actually invaded such a terrible village some time ago. Marky, it's incredible that you can still come back alive. The mentioned Maji glanced at the person who spoke with a dark face. This is not a glorious thing, why do you still look admired? Chosama, if Ryusuke Yagami really has such terrifying strength, then I don't recommend that we offend him. Maki said. He once saw the power of Ryusuke Yagami during the Konoha collapse plan. The strength Ryusuke Yagami showed at that time was already very scary. It was still far from what was described in this intelligence. If the intelligence was true, then Marky would raise his hands to oppose the village being an enemy of such a terrible person. An 800-meter super wooden man. If you just come to their Sunagakure village and walk around, you don't have to do anything. Just walk around and their Sunagakure village is over. I don't agree with Maki Jonin's statement. It is precisely because Ryusuke Yagami is so powerful that we should get rid of him as soon as possible. That's right. Ryusuke Yagami is only 12 years old. As we all know, the peak period of a ninja begins after adulthood, which means that he may become stronger in the next few years. We can't let him grow any longer. But, how can we get rid of this monster? I think Jonin Maki is right, and haven't we signed an alliance treaty with Konoha again? Treaty of alliance. That thing is just a piece of waste paper. I think we should get rid of Yagami Ryusuke as soon as possible to avoid future troubles. Everyone said something to each other. Some people agreed with Maji and were unwilling to be enemies with such a terrifying person. But more people advocated taking the initiative to eliminate Ryusuke Yagami to prevent Konoha from tearing up the alliance in the future. Treaty, what will Sunagakure village do to block Yagami Ryusuke's wood release? Chosama, what do you think? These people argued and argued, but could not come up with a solution. In the end, they asked Granny Kyande, the only one who can make the decision in the village. Marky has a point, but this is truly a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Grandma Cho sighed and said, with the strength of our village, we cannot defeat this kind of monster, so if we want to move, we must combine the strength of the other three villages to kill the opponent. Chosama, what did the Tsuchikage say? Maki asked. Granny Cho glanced at him and said, what Oniki means is to discuss it again. Then why don't we wait until the Tsuchikage and the others have finished their discussions before making a decision? Maki said. Is this too passive? What if Onoki thinks that our Sunagakure is a coward? I think we should take the initiative to contact Iwagakure and tell them our determination. Chosama, if you miss this opportunity, maybe Sunagakure village will no longer exist in the ninja world in the future. Chosama, Please give the order. Seeing everyone looking at her, Granny Cho pondered for a moment before saying in this way, I will reply to Onaki first. If he can convince the other two villages, then if the four of us join forces, then we, Tsunagakure village, are involved in this matter. If other villages have different opinions, then let it go. To be honest, having never seen Ryusuke Yagamai's terrifying strength with her own eyes, Cho's mother-in-law always had some doubts about this information. Moreover, even if Ryusuke Yagamai is really that powerful, how long can he maintain that state? A technique of that level consumes chakra horribly. He is only 12 years old. Even if he has the blood of Senju, the amount of chakra is huge, but it is not endless. Therefore, using the human sea tactic, there is a chance to kill Ryusuke Yagamai. Of course. The premise is that his Flying Thunder God technique must be restricted first. Otherwise, he will just run away if he can't beat him. Wouldn't their death be in vain? At the same time, while the Tsunagakure village was discussing and finally making a decision, a similar scene was happening in the other three ninja villages. The difference was that in the Hidden Cloud village, the fourth Raikage directly decided to kill him. Ryusuke Yagamai. He even plans to launch a war directly against Konoha after killing Ryusuke Yagamai. But Iwagakure and Kirigakure are still considering it. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries. Author, MRMO. Chapter 174. Soon. Tsunagakure's letter was delivered through the psychic beast. Iwagakure village, in the Tsuchikage's office. The third Tsuchikage Onaki was currently discussing with his son Huangtu and others whether to send someone to intercept Yagamai Ryusuke. Regarding the part of the information about Ryusuke Yagamai's strength. To be honest, Onaki only believed half of it. He felt that the intelligence personnel might have been frightened at the time, so they used exaggerated words. As for why Tsunagakure had the same information? Please. Are your spies allowed to use exaggerated words but not others? Fright is not an individual thing, it can also be a group thing. So everyone was frightened and used exaggerated words, which is normal. For Onaki, who had seen Uchiha Madara's strength when he was young, he did not believe that a mere 12-year-old kid could possess the terrifying power comparable to Uchiha Madara. But, even if the spy's words are exaggerated, one thing is certain, that is, Ryusuke Yagamai does have strength beyond the average cage level. If he really wanted to fight alone, Onaki didn't have much confidence. After all, he is old and his body and bones are no longer what they used to be. Although his dust escape is extremely lethal. But if you can't hit anyone, it's useless. The key is, with his chakra, it doesn't take more than a few dust escapes. If he misses a few times, what awaits him will be the crazy pursuit of the opponent. Onoki didn't think his old bones could hold on. Moreover, this matter is not a matter of their Yinyan village family at all. Why should the Yinyan village do it themselves? Is it all for nothing that Kumigakure, Kirigakure, and Tsunagakure are getting a bargain? What a beautiful thought. Father, what did Tsunagakure say? In Tsuchikage's office, Onaki's son Huangtu also looked at his father and asked at this time. Just now, a reply letter from Tsunagakure village came over, and after reading this reply, Onaki looked like he was deep in thought. Lois couldn't wait, so he asked hurriedly. Onaki glanced at his son, and then said what Tsunagakure means is that as long as the other three villages agree, they will take action together. What do you mean, Dad? Huangtu asked again quickly. I'm still thinking, don't worry about Kumigakure. With Raikage's violent temper, he will definitely not refuse. The question now is what does Kirigakure think? Onoki said. Father, is it really necessary to gather the strength of our 4 villages? I think 3 villages are enough, right? Huang Tu thought for a while and then expressed his thoughts. Kuratsuke, what do you think? Onoki did not immediately answer his son's question, but looked at his granddaughter Kuratsuke aside. Grandpa, I think what my father said is right. Even if Yagami Ryuzuke has awakened the wood release, he is still young after all, and his strength is definitely not as exaggerated as what the intelligence said. At most, he is a bit more powerful among the cage level. That's it? The art of flying thunder god is more troublesome. Although Kuratsuke is still young, his abilities have already shown some clues about the future Yondaime Tsuchikage. Therefore, in the past, when there were meetings, Onaki would let the young Kuratsuke sit in and listen. Occasionally, he would ask her a few words to see what my granddaughter thinks. The same is true today. After Onoki asked Kuratsuke, he also pondered for a moment and said, after all, Ryuzuke Yagami is the second successor of wood release after Senju Hashirama. Not to be underestimated. And even if the information from the spies is exaggerated, it is basically certain that this person's strength has exceeded the shadow level. If we fight alone, even with my dust release, I may not be an opponent. What's more, as Kuratsuke said, his flying thunder god technique is also a trouble. Father, we can set up an ambush in advance. Huangtu said. Onoki nodded, he thought so too. But the problem now is this information from Konoha credible? What if this is a trap? Onoki is old, what kind of conspiracies have he not seen? Therefore, he had to consider whether this possibility existed. If it exists, what can be done to eliminate it? First, let someone go to Konoha to investigate. The person who sent the information must have a grudge against Ryusuke Yagami and even the current high-level officials of Konoha. Investigate who the other party may be. Onoki ordered. Okay, I'll give the order right now. Huangtu nodded, immediately turned around and went down to work. Grandpa, is Mudun really that powerful? Kuratsuke walked up to Onoki at this time and couldn't help but ask curiously. Of course that's awesome, that's Senju Hashirama's wood release. It is the power that calms the troubled times. Onoki shook his head and said, you young people don't know how powerful Senju Hashirama was back then. He and Uchiha Madara just forced us ninjas from the other 4 countries not to dare to invade the Land of Fire. It wasn't until Madara Uchiha left Konoha and Hashirama Senju died that the First Ninja War officially broke out. Before that, no one dared to invade Konoha, where Senju Hashirama was in charge. Why? It's because his wood release is an invincible force. When Kuratsuke listened to Grandpa Onoki's introduction, he couldn't help but open his mouth in surprise. Mudun is so powerful. Of course, Onoki said, this is why we must kill Yagami Ryuzuke, the brat. Konoha cannot give birth to a second Senju Hashirama. To be honest, the reason why the structure of the 5 major ninja villages in the 5 major countries can exist today is all due to the kindness of Senju Hashirama. If Senju Hashirama hadn't been too kind in character, then the only thing left in the ninja world would have been there is one ninja village in one country. How can there be a situation like this? But Onoki cannot guarantee that the next person with the strength of Senju Hashirama will be as kind as Senju Hashirama. And, judging from the information obtained so far, Ryusuke Yagami is not a kind-hearted person like Senju Hashirama. On the contrary, he is quite murderous. If he had the strength of Senju Hashirama, would Konoha want to unify the entire ninja world? When the time comes, wood will come. What should these ninja villages from the 4 major countries do to resist? Tailed beast? Do not make jokes. Their tailed beast now was the one given to them by Senju Hashirama. Senju Hashirama can suppress the 9-tailed beasts by himself. Then there is a high probability that Ryusuke Yagami will have such strength when he grows up in the future. Therefore, they cannot gamble and cannot wait. As long as this time it wasn't a trap deliberately set by Konoha. To read Bao's Huang novels, go Go to Fila Novel Network. Onoki will never hesitate at all. When the time comes, the 4 major ninja villages will join forces and send out the strongest ninja team, and they will definitely kill Ryusuke Yagami. Kill it before it fully grows up. As long as it is confirmed that this is not a trap, I will personally contact Kirigakure's Mizukage at that time. Even if Kirigakure is not involved at this time, I can give it a try by gathering the power of the 3 major ninja villages. Onoki thought. Kirigakure, in the Mizukage's office. Terumi Mei, who had just taken the position of the 5th Mizukage not long ago, was also discussing the 2 pieces of information with his subordinates Ao and Kojuro. Mizukage-sama, I do not recommend Kirigakure to participate in this plan. The village has just begun to restore stability, and it is really not suitable to participate in such an action against a large national shinobi village. After reading the information, Kojuro directly gave his own suggestions. Their Kirigakure has never had much direct conflict with Konoha. In the 3 great ninja wars, their Kirigakure did not participate much, and their relationship with Konoha cannot be said to be good. But it is by no means as bad as Kyomigakure. Moreover, the most important thing is that Kirigakure village has just ended its coup not long ago, and the 5th Mizukage has just come to power. It is a time when the internal strength of the village is empty. This is the most important time. The purpose is to recuperate and train the next generation of ninjas. Rather than offending ninja villages like Konoha and making enemies for themselves. As for, will Ryusuke Yagami endanger their Kirigakure when he grows up in the future? This Kojuro will also don't worry. Because the shadows of the other 3 villages are more worried than Kirigakure. Even if they, Kirigakure, are not involved in this matter, the other 3 villages will not give up on it. Mr. Mizukage, we can completely sit back and watch this matter. Even if we are missing, the other 3 villages will definitely take action. No matter whether they succeed or not, we will be the ones who take advantage. Ao also expressed his thoughts at this time. Like Kojuro, he did not agree to participate in this matter. There is no other reason, it is that Kirigakure is too weak now. The total number of ninjas in the village is less than 1 people. Even 100 Jounin can't be found. With such strength, if they rashly participate in this kind of thing, even if they kill Ryusuke Yagami in the end, their Kirigakure will suffer heavy losses. If they are not protected, other villages will take advantage of them. Not to mention, doing so is tantamount to offending Konoha to death. When Konoha goes crazy and wants to beat them, what should they do? You know. Konoha's current Hokage is Tsunade. That's the princess of the Thousand Hands clan. They killed Ryusuke Yagami, the successor of Wood Release. Will Tsunade swallow her anger? Please. She's not Hiruzen Sarutobi. I also knew that Tsunade would definitely go crazy to avenge Yagami Ryusuke. At that time, Kirigakure village, which is the weakest, will most likely become the first target targeted by Konoha. As for saying, expect the other 3 villages to help them at that time? Haha. Even a 3-year-old knows that's impossible. The other 3 villages would just watch them Kirigakure die. Because that can further consume Konoha's strength and ensure their own safety. Don't worry, I didn't want to participate in the first place. Terumi Mei casually threw the 2 pieces of information aside. She smiled and said, however, I am quite interested in this little brother Yagami Ryusuke. He is already so powerful at the age of 12. If he really grows up, now, why don't you become invincible in the ninja world? It's hard to say. Some people's potential will be exhausted before they reach adulthood. Ryusuke Yagami may be one of these people. Changjuro said. Who knows, but I really want to meet this little brother. Terumi Mei said with a smile. In the Kingdom of Fire, on a certain official road, a caravan is advancing. There are more than a dozen carriages in the team, escorting a large amount of equipment and materials, all of which are to be sent to the Kingdom of Iron. At the same time, at the front and rear of the team, Team 10 led by Ryusuke Yagamai is also protecting the caravan. In front of the caravan are Ryusuke Yagamai and Ino, of the Good King, and Shikamaru and Koji are responsible for guarding the caravan in the back. The distance is it has been half a day since they left the village. In about 2 or 3 hours, they will arrive at the first town to rest. Then they will rest in the town for a night, and then wait until dawn tomorrow before continuing. It takes almost 10 days to go from Konoha to the delivery point of the Iron Country. There is no way, the caravan's progress is slow. It is not faster than their ninja running speed. This is why this mission will be rated as Class B, not Class C. Because the journey is far away, there are too many unexpected situations along the way. If they are not protected, they will be targeted by ninjas. After all, there are several towns on the way from the country of fire to the country of iron. In these towns, maybe there are some rebels dormant. Ryusuke, do you think someone will come to rob the caravan? Ino looked around curiously. This was her first B-level mission. She was escorting such a large caravan, so it was inevitable that she would be a little excited. It's hard to say today, but there is a high probability tomorrow. Ryusuke Yagamai said. The place they walked today was relatively close to Konoha. Some rebel ninja did not dare to move near Konoha. But tomorrow they will be further away from Konoha, and then the rebels around the number of ninjas will also increase. For those rebellious ninjas, such a caravan is very valuable. That's it? Ino nodded when he heard this, then glanced curiously at the carriages in the caravan. I don't know what's on it. She whispered. Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries. Author, MRMO. Chapter 175. Do you want to know? Ryusuke Yagamai looked at Ino with a smile. Ryusuke, do you know? Ino nodded and looked at him. I checked before I left. Ryusuke Yagamai said, of course he didn't do the inspection directly, that wouldn't be appropriate either. He used his Byakugan. He looked through directly and saw the things in the boxes on the carriage. What is it? Ino asked in a low voice. Seeing her sneaky look, Yagamai Ryusuke also laughed and said, it's okay, they can't hear us when we talk, so there's no need to be sneaky. Ah. That's it? Ino blushed, then looked at the caravan's own guards and found that they seemed to have not heard the conversation between him and Yagamai Ryusuke. It's just a little illusion. Ryusuke Yagamai explained. In terms of illusion skills, Ryusuke Yagamai said that he is the second in the ninja world, but I am afraid no one dares to say that he is the best in the ninja world. They are just ordinary people, he doesn't need to be serious, just casually it confuses their 5 senses. Amazing. Ino looked at him with admiration. That look of a little fangirl made Ryusuke Yagamai very happy. Who can refuse the admiration of a beautiful girl? Right? In fact, the boxes on these carriages are empty. Ryusuke Yagamai said. Ah. Empty? Ino asked in surprise how come, why are they shipping a bunch of empty boxes? She couldn't understand that the reward for a B-level mission was not low. A caravan couldn't pay such a large reward just to transport a bunch of empty boxes, right? That would be too unfair. They certainly weren't going to pay us to escort a bunch of empty boxes, when in fact it wasn't the cargo they were escorting at all. Ryusuke Yagamai said, pointing to a carriage behind him. That carriage was not pulling a box, but a carriage. Sitting inside was the owner of the caravan, a chubby middle-aged man. Have you met that caravan owner? Ryusuke Yagamai said. Ino nodded. The thing he wants to escort is on his body. Ryusuke. Yagamai said, I don't know what it is exactly, but it's in his bag. What the hell? Why didn't this guy just say it outright from the beginning? 067 Ino said a little angrily. In this case, if they really encountered a robbery, wouldn't they have to protect a bunch of empty boxes? In contrast, if the target of protection is only one person, isn't that much simpler? After all, how big a goal is one person? And how big a goal is a dozen carriages? Wouldn't this cause them more trouble? No wonder Ino is angry. Fortunately, Ryusuke, you discovered it early, otherwise we would all have been kept in the dark. Ino said angrily. Hearing this, Ryusuke Yagami smiled and rubbed her head. But in fact, Shikamaru might have discovered it a long time ago. After all, the weight of an empty box is the same as the weight of a box full of goods. But completely different things. You can tell the difference from the rut marks. Shikamaru is so smart. It is impossible not to discover it. The second day after leaving Konoha, the caravan continued to set off after resting for the night. 10th band still protected the caravan from front to back. At noon, the caravan was attacked by a group of bandits. There were about 20 or 30 people on the opposite side. They were so menacing that the guards of the caravan were frightened. However, the enemy had no use for this. Without Ryusuke Yagami's reminder, the three of Shikamaru and the others easily solved them. After dealing with these bandits, the caravan continued on its way. But the rest of the road was not as peaceful as yesterday. Just like Ryusuke Yagami said to Ino said that when the caravan is far away from Konoha, the attacks they will encounter will continue to increase. Now it is just bandits and so on. When they encounter those rebellious ninja later, it will be the time to test the strength of Team 10. On this day, the caravan encountered a total of 3 attacks. Twice were bandits and bandits. But the last time, 2 rebel ninjas appeared. Fortunately, the other party said they were Chuyunin, but in fact their level was about the same. The level of the genin in Konoha is stronger. The 3 of Shikamaru and the others cooperated and easily eliminated the 2 rebellious nins. The caravan successfully arrived at the next town to rest. There was no words for the night. BJBB, on the 3rd day, the caravan was on the road again. There were still constant attacks on the road. For such a large caravan, it was difficult not to attract the attention of bandits, and even rebel ninjas. Therefore, at the end of the day, they encountered another. There were 5 attacks. This time, there were fewer bandits and bandits, only 2 groups came. On the contrary, the number of attacks by rebel ninjas began to increase, and they encountered 3 groups of rebel ninjas. Fortunately, they were not strong. Shikamaru and the others can handle it on their own. There is no need for Yagami Ryusuke, the jonin who leads the team, to take action. On the 4th day, the journey is almost halfway. Unexpectedly, this day turned out to be calm, and there was no attack at all. Shikamaru was completely shocked. They were all a little uncomfortable. After all, there had been various attacks in the past 2 days. But today, nothing happened. It was very strange. Ryusuke Yagami was not surprised. Since there were no attacks, he could go on his way in peace and quiet. Okay. At the end of the day, with Yagami Ryusuke and the others deliberately speeding up, they walked for almost a day and a half and arrived at another small town to rest. The country of fire has many plains and fertile land. Therefore, the population is also large, and the domestic there are a lot of mineral deposits, so many small towns were born because of some local minerals. If you enlarge the map of the country of fire, you will find that the country of fire has the largest number of towns among the 5 major countries. It is even the second many times more famous. There are various towns all over the country, dotted with large and small ones. Therefore, the caravan does not have to sleep in the countryside all the way. Of course. This is also because the route they take follows these all the way. When passing through towns, I did not deliberately choose roads that did not pass through these towns. Otherwise, I would really have to spend the night in the wild. although it is normal for ninjas to spend the night in the wild during their missions. But if given a choice, who would want to use the sky as their bed and the earth as their bed? Somewhere in the Iron Kingdom. How about it? It has been determined. The target will arrive in the Kingdom of Iron in 2 days. We will ambush here then. Great, then wait 2 more days. In the mountains and forests, teams of ninjas are hidden everywhere in the mountains and forests. If you don't look carefully, you can't find any trace of these ninjas. To read Bao's Huang novels, go to Fila Novel Network. These people are all the 3 great ninjas. A team sent by the village. This time, the 3 major ninja villages of Tsunagakuer, Iwagakuer, and Kyomagakuer joined forces to kill Ryosuke Yagamai, a serious problem. At this time, there were as many as 10,000 ninjas hidden in this mountain forest. Thousands. And they are all elites. The weakest ones are Chuyunin. The number of Jonin exceeds 300 or 400. Such a scale, unless a war breaks out in the ninja world, it is impossible to gather so many elite ninjas to form a troops, and they are aimed at one person. This shows how much the 3 great ninja villages attach great importance to Yagamai Ryosuke. On the Iwagakuer side, the leader is Onaki's son Huangtu. Huangtu is the elite jounin of Iwagakuer. His strength has reached the quasi-cage level, and he is extremely powerful. He is the 2nd strongest person in Iwagakuer village after Onaki. On the other side, Tsunagakuer is leading the team with Granmacho. There is no way. Tsunagakuer is too weak. If Granicho, a veteran shadow-level powerhouse, does not come, she will appear too weak among the coalition forces. People from the other 2 villages will inevitably think that Tsunagakuer is not sincere. Therefore, Granny Cho came here in person. And also brought half of the jounin in the village. It can be said to be full of sincerity. However, in comparison, the most sincere one is Kyomagakuer. Kyomagakuer sent the largest number of ninjas, and they even had the 8-tailed Jinchuriki and the 2-tailed Jinchuriki were all sent. Kiribi was the leader of the Kyomo ninja who led the team this time. Although the 4th generation Raikage did not come, one of the Abe brothers came, which clearly shows that Kyomagakuer will definitely kill Yagamai Ryosuke. After all, even the 2 major Jinchuriki in the village were sent here. It can be said to be full of sincerity. In comparison, neither Tsunagakuer nor Iwagakuer sent their respective Jinchuriki. Tsunagakuer did not send me Love Logo came because Garo was not comfortable using the power of tailed beasts unless he directly used the art of false sleep, and his own strength was a bit weak after all. After all, he was still young. And if one tail loses control, I'm afraid he will not be able to use it. Waiting for the attack target Yagamai Ryosuke, he attacked Tsunagakuer first. Therefore, Tsunagakuer did not send Gaara. As for Iwagakuer, that is even simpler. It is simply that the old purple man is not in the village at all. Onaki, even if it's the Sandame Tsuchikage, his words are of no use when it comes to Lao Zi. Lao Zi doesn't listen to him at all. What can he do? On the 8th day after leaving Konoha, this merchant escorted by Team 10, the team finally entered the Kingdom of Iron. When they arrived, they were only about half a day away from their destination. And the last half-day's journey was also quite quiet. Very smoothly, they escorted the merchants. The team arrived at the target location. All of you Konoha ninjas have worked hard on this journey. This is just a small thought from me. I hope the 4 of you will not refuse. The owner of the caravan also smiled and handed over several gifts to Yagamai Ryosuke and the others. Take it. Shikamaru and the others looked at Ryosuke Yagamai, and after the latter nodded in agreement, they accepted the other party's gift. After bidding farewell to this cunning caravan owner, Ryosuke Yagamai and the others also turned around and walked out of the town. While opening the gift that guy gave them. Wow! It's a detonating talisman, 60 in total. Ino looked at the stack of detonating charms placed in the box. The price of this thing is not cheap. It sells for 600 taels a piece in Konoha. In some other places, it even sells for 1000 taels a piece, or even more expensive. The price in Konoha is relatively cheap. But even so, the value of 60 detonating charms has reached 36,000 taels. This is more than the reward they can get after several D-level missions. Moreover, the gifts Shikamaru and Koji received were also 60 detonating charms, which added up to 108,000 taels. With so much money, the middle-aged uncle who seemed quite stingy was so generous all of a sudden? Ryusuke, what gift did you receive? After Ino looked at the gifts Shikamaru and the others received, he looked at Yagami Ryusuke again. In fact, Shikamaru and Koji were also quite curious. They wanted to know what the middle-aged uncle gave Yagami Ryusuke. Just like you, they are detonating charms, but there are 300 of them. Ryusuke Yagami said. 300 detonating charms are equivalent to 180,000 taels. Including Ino and the others, it's almost 300,000 taels. Ryusuke, why did that uncle give us so many extra thank you gifts? Ino frowned and couldn't figure it out. Shikamaru, what do you think? Ryusuke Yagami looked at Shikamaru aside and asked him. Probably because he wanted to apologize, Shikamaru said. He deliberately concealed that the thing he wanted to escort this time was actually on him. Those carriages with boxes were just a cover. He probably knew that we saw it, so out of guilt or not wanting to offend Konoha, he sent such an apology gift. Ah! Is that so? Ino suddenly realized, then smiled, and put away the detonating talisman. Since it is a thank you gift to apologize, I will accept it. Ryusuke Yagami also looked at the three of them with a smile. Then, take these 3 kunao. Ryusuke Yagami suddenly took out 3 special kunao and handed them to the 3 of them. The reason why they are special is because these 3 kunao are imprinted with his Flying Thunder God mark, and they are improved by Ryusuke Yagami. The last mark of the Flying Thunder God. It is directly activated from a long distance, and then the person holding the kunao is directly teleported to the location of another mark. It is somewhat similar to the second stage of the Flying Thunder God Guide, but it is different. It is Ryusuke Yagami. A method of application that has been developed recently. Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries. Author, MRMO. Chapter 176. Ryusuke, what does this mean? Shikamaru asked with a frown as he found kunao. He had a bad feeling. You guys go back to the village first. I have some personal matters to deal with and will go back soon. Ryusuke Yagami smiled and said. Ryusuke, is this troublesome? Ino asked worriedly. Ryusuke Yagami touched her head and said softly, don't worry, they are just a bunch of ants who don't know their own capabilities. I will go back after I finish dealing with them. I'll be back soon. Hearing this, Ino was full of confidence in Yagami. Ryusuke Ino also nodded. Well, then come back quickly. Ino said. Ryusuke Yagami nodded, and then looked at Shikamaru aside. Shikamaru, when you return to the village, you will hand over the tasks and then go to the Hokage's office. I forgot to tell you before that you have been approved for promotion to Chuyunin. I will treat everyone to a meal later in the evening. After you go back, contact everyone else to celebrate. Chuyunin, this is really troublesome. Shikamaru said helplessly with a pair of dead fish eyes. As a genin, you basically only need to obey the orders of the leading jonin and then perform various team tasks. But it becomes more troublesome after being promoted to chunin. For example, there are when the jonin leading the team has trouble, he will let the chuyunin in the team be responsible for leading the team to perform tasks. For a lazy person like Shikamaru, he certainly doesn't want to increase the workload for himself. There is no way, this is decided by the upper management of Konoha, even if it's useless for him to refuse. Besides, if he really wants to refuse, his father will probably give him a good meal of fried meat with bamboo shoots. Okay, I'll contact them when I get back. Shikamaru nodded. Of course he knew who the other people Yagami Ryusuke was talking about. They were just those classmates who graduated from the same class. Of course, not all of them, but Naruto Shino and the others, as well as Xiao Li from the previous class. These are people they are familiar with in their genin circle. They also had some exchanges during the Chunin exams before. Okay, go ahead. After Yagami Ryusuke finished speaking, he directly activated the Flying Thunder God mark in the Konoha in the hands of the three of them. With a burst of space distortion, the three figures disappeared in an instant. Now I can have fun with those guys. After sending Ino and the others away, Yagami Ryusuke also raised his head and looked at the forest in the distance. In fact, he had already discovered this group of ninjas before entering the Iron Country. After all, thousands of ninjas gathered. It was difficult not to attract his attention to such an abnormal situation in a small area. Then he found that the place where these guys gathered was near the target location of their escort mission, and he guessed that someone in the village should have leaked the information. He learned the information about their mission. Then he notified the ninjas from other villages. As for the purpose, Yagami Ryusuke knew it with his butt, and it must be for him. There are really some people who are not afraid of death, or rather, don't they believe I'm that strong? Ryusuke Yagami thought to himself. If these ninjas from other villages believed in the strength he showed that night when he fought with Menma Uchiha, played by his wooden clone, then they would definitely not dare to intercept him. After all, they didn't do it in the first place. People dare to intercept and kill Senju Hashirama and Uchiha Madara, right? As for Kakuzu, haha. That's because the people in Taki Ninja Village have a broken brain. But in the end, weren't they healed by Kakuzu? And the group of people right now include Tsunagakuer, Iwagakuer, and Kyumigakuer. It is impossible to think that all the cages of the three ninja villages have lost their minds at the same time. Then there is only one possibility left. That is them. I simply don't believe the description of Ryusuke Yagami's strength in the intelligence. It's precisely because I don't believe it that I arranged this interception in an attempt to kill Ryusuke Yagami, a Konoha ninja who has awakened the wood release. It's really naive, but people always have to pay some price for their naivete. Ryusuke Yagami's eyes flashed with a joking look. He obviously didn't pay attention to the interception and killing of these three ninja villages. After all, his destructive power is currently at the mid-6th level, let alone the thousands of elite ninja troops. Even if it is a ninja coalition of the size of the 4th Ninja War, he can kill you 7 in and 7 out by himself, and still be unscathed. It's so awesome. Get ready, the target is coming towards us. Everyone in the barrier class is ready, and the barrier will be set up as soon as the target enters the designated location. In the mountain forest, the ambush ninja coalition was ready for battle. As Yagami Ryusuke slowly stepped into their predetermined ambush location. In an instant, hundreds of ninjas from the barrier class took action together and laid out a 4-dimensional ambush. It is square, covering a large barrier with a side length of almost 1 kilometer. The target is trapped. When the monitor of the barrier class saw Yagami Ryusuke trapped in the barrier, he also shouted excitedly. Very good, this time Ryusuke Yagami can't escape even if he has wings. In the Ninja Alliance team, Huangtu laughed, and his honest-looking face revealed a murderous secret. Next, according to the plan, he will first consume his chakra and let the puppet troops and clone troops go up to harass him. Grandma Cho was leaning on a cane and looked like she might collapse at any time. However, despite her age, her strength is enough to rank among the top 3 among this group of ninja coalition. The reason why I say this is because Kyumigakuer directly sent 2 Jinchuriki. Otherwise, the strength of Cho's mother-in-law is definitely ranked first among the ninja coalition present. For the puppet master, being older actually has an impact. It's not that big. After all, their battle is mainly about controlling puppets. And there is no such thing as old age for puppets. Inside the barrier, Ryosuke Yagamai stopped after the barrier rose. He put his hands in his pockets and raised his head watching this barrier. It's interesting. It seems to be a barrier that blocks time and space ninjutsu. This is specifically to restrict my flying thunder god jutsu. Are you afraid that I will escape? Ryosuke Yagamai raised the corner of his mouth and said with a smile. At this moment, the barriers behind him and on the left and right side suddenly swayed like layers of ripples on the water, and then puppets and numerous earth clones, water clones, etc. all ran in. They were densely packed, several times more than the number of coalition ninjas ambushing outside. This is, want to fight a war of attrition. Ryosuke Yagamai blinked, seeing through the opponent's plan. He couldn't help but have the urge to laugh. Fighting a war of attrition with him. Even if all the ninjas in the world join together, they can't defeat him. This group of people. He is really ignorant. However, although these ninja coalition forces are very ignorant, the tactics they arranged are really effective in dealing with ordinary super shadows. After all, ordinary Choukage does not have as much chakra as Ryosuke Yagamai, nor his terrifying recovery ability. A normal super shadow has chakra that is 20 to 30 times the shadow level. The recovery speed is also similar to that of ordinary ninjas. In high-intensity battles, it is basically difficult to replenish the chakra consumed. Therefore, if we fight a war of attrition, we will only become weaker and weaker. In the end, you may be consumed to death. The Sandaime Raikage back then had actually touched the threshold of the super shadow level. But wasn't he also consumed by life and death? To read Bao's Huang novels, go to Fila Novel Network. This time, the coalition forces of these three ninja villages obviously also had this idea, and planned to consume Ryosuke Yagamai to death. Pity. Ryosuke Yagamai is not the Sandaime Raikage. Want to consume him to death? It's 100 years too early for them. Here we go. Outside the barrier, Granicho and others were standing in an open space, with a large number of ninja coalition troops behind them. All of them were paying attention to the fighting situation inside the barrier. As a large number of puppets and clone troops rushed up, Yagamai Ryosuke, who was trapped in the encirclement, also clapped his hands and shouted, "Fire escape! The great fire is extinguished." High fire extinguishment is a B-level fire escape ninjutsu. The caster releases a large area of high-temperature flames to burn the enemies within a fan-shaped range in front of them, causing fire damage to them. However, the normal range of high fire extinguishing is also the range covered by the caster. At a distance of 20 or 30 meters in front of him, whether it was the temperature of the flame or the impact force, it was no different from ordinary flames. However, when this ninjutsu was released in the hands of Ryosuke Yagamai, it was so powerful that it caused the ninja alliance outside the barrier to everyone was shocked. As the overwhelming sea of fire surged in, the entire space inside the barrier was suddenly flooded with flames. What? Is this a huge fire? Do you really think I haven't seen the great fire extinguished? This is not a fire extinguishing at all. Can the puppet troops and clone troops block it? Granmacho and others outside the barrier obviously didn't expect this to happen. Ryosuke Yagamai just used a ninjutsu, or was it a B-level ninjutsu, and actually directly destroyed their carefully prepared puppet troops and clone troops? Originally, they also hoped that this wave would consume part of Ryosuke Yagamai's chakra. But now, it is consumed, but how much chakra does a ninjutsu have? Maybe this is not How Huoke, but a forbidden fire escape technique that is very similar to How Huoke, but is much more powerful and expensive. Huangtu guessed, isn't Konoha's second-generation Hokage very good at developing various forbidden techniques? This might be a forbidden technique developed by Senju Tobirama Sojin. Maybe Ryosuke Yagamai has consumed a lot of chakra by now. Hearing this, Granny Cho and others thought about it and thought it was possible. After all, how could a serious fire extermination have such power? This is obviously not a serious fire extermination. That's right. It must be that a certain forbidden fire escape technique didn't escape. Now what? Behind Granny Cho, Maji, who came with the Tsunagakuer troops, also asked at this time. Yo! Ryusuke Yagamai, you are amazing, let me, Kiribi, go in and destroy you, brother Si. Several pairs of eyes looked at Kiribi who was rapping again over there, and then they shook their heads and continued to discuss how to proceed with the plan. As for letting Kiribi in? Forget it. Now that Ryusuke Yagamai's strength is still at its peak, they don't dare to bet that Kiribi can beat Ryusuke Yagamai. If he fails to defeat him, wouldn't it mean that he will lose his peak combat power? Seeing that no one paid attention to him, Kiribi suddenly became unhappy. Just when he was about to sing a few more lines, the two Yama people next to him pulled him. Kiribi, have you forgotten what Reikage-sama told you before he went out? You just need to watch and listen to the arrangements. The two Yama people said to Kiribi. Kiribi curled his lips. Naturally, Kiribi, who had never been very obedient to his elder brother's instructions, didn't take it to heart. But now he was being stared at by the two Yama people. So, he could only give up his plan to continue singing a few lines for the time being. Anyway, there will be a chance later. When Uncle Kiribi appears in person, he must show his skills to these guys who don't understand music. Also, on one side, after the flames within the barrier dissipated, traces of charred blackness were revealed all over the ground. As for those puppets and clones, of course they were burned to ashes. The puppets were either made of wood or metal, but even metal couldn't withstand the Night Kami Ryusuke's fire attack. He was immediately burned into molten iron. Not to mention the clones, they were all destroyed in one direct encounter. They didn't even have time to use ninjutsu to resist. Hello. Are there any other moves? Don't keep me waiting too long. Ryusuke Yagamai stood in the middle of the barrier and shouted loudly to the people outside. Granny Cho and others who had just finished the discussion also looked at Yagamai with dark faces while being trapped in the barrier, but still so arrogant. Ryusuke. But they do have the arrogance. The fire escape just now was enough to amaze them. Continuing with the original plan, the illusion team and the water escape team will join together. Grandma Cho ordered. Following her order, 2 teams of 20 or 30 people also marched towards the barrier. The moment they entered the barrier, the ninja coalition forces who had learned well immediately formed Seal's release ninjutsu. Water escape. Great waterfall technique. Water escape. Exploding water and rushing waves. Various water escapes release massive amounts of water and rush toward Ryusuke Yagamai. Water escape. Ryusuke Yagamai sneered. Isn't it? That's it? Don't you think I only know how to use fire escape ninjutsu? Ryusuke Yagamai said, but he saw that the ninjas who had released the water escape actually ran away. Yes, they directly exited the barrier. No, there are still some who escaped? And they still hit and run? Are you a rogue? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries. Author, MRMO. Chapter 177. These guys can move in and out of the barrier freely. Ryusuke Yagamai did not change his expression in the face of the overwhelming water. He was just curious, how could these coalition ninjas enter and exit the barrier freely? He did not see any openings in the barrier being actively opened for them to enter and exit. Could it be a specific technique? Ryusuke Yagamai thought for a moment, and then found that he had been swallowed by the water. But he was still standing where he was, but he was already underwater. The water escape released by dozens of water escape ninjas at the same time has only this power. Ryosuke Yagami's body has reached an extremely terrifying level. Even S-level ninjutsu cannot harm him at all, let alone these pitiful little water escapes. They are not even worthy of giving him a shower. Bang! The water surface exploded. Ryosuke Yagami rushed out of the water, standing firmly on the rough water with his feet. Hello. Is this your plan? Come in, release water escape and run away. He shouted at the coalition forces outside. However, no one paid attention to him. The coalition forces continued to follow the previous plan. First, the water escape ninjas went up to release water escape, and then the thunder escape ninjas from Kyomagakure went up and used the water escape ninjas created before. The flood released thunder release to cover the entire barrier. Ryosuke Yagami quickly saw through the plan of these ninja coalition forces. But he did not make any resistance. Instead, he watched the Kyomagakure ninjas coming in with interest. Then he used thunder escape, and still ran away after hitting him. He was playing a rogue style. Tisk tisk. I really don't want billion. Yakami Ryosuke's body flashed with electric arcs, and crackling currents rushed around his body. The entire water surface was filled with 613 blue lightning, illuminating the entire area. But it was useless. Bathed in thunder, Ryosuke Yagami had nothing to do at all. He was even in the mood to chat with the ninja coalition outside. I said, can you be more forceful? Do you understand that this makes me feel like you are wasting my time? I'll give you another chance. If I don't come up with any decent tricks, I will take the initiative to attack. Hello. Did you hear that? The ninja coalition outside the barrier also looked at Yagami Ryosuke, who was shouting in the barrier as if they were looking at monsters. How come? Why is nothing wrong with him? This is unreasonable. How could a person resist this level of lightning escape and still remain unscathed? Monster. This guy is an absolute monster. Oh my god. What kind of people are we fighting? The morale of the coalition forces has been affected to a certain extent, and some people have even retreated. At this moment, Granny Cho stood up. Let me do it, this Yagami Ryosuke is too strong, ordinary attacks are useless against him, the subsequent harassment plan can be cancelled, and the strongest combat force is directly sent to fight him to the death. Originally, their plan was to consume Ryosuke Yagami again and again, trying to consume all his chakra, preferably even 1 out of 100. But now it seems, they really underestimated this young man. Konoha Ninja. The opponent's physique is so strong that he can resist the thunder escape released by dozens of Kyomagakure ninjas. With such a physique, their subsequent plans are useless. They will only give away their heads. Yo-yo. Finally it was my turn to appear at Kirabe's concert. I made a stunning appearance. I beat up Ryosuke Yagami, and I was wearing a skewer. Wow, wow, wow. Kirabe spoke a weird tune again, sang a rap that no one could appreciate, and walked out with a weird 8-character step. Lois Jonin, I leave this place to your command. Grandma Cho said to Huangtu. Huangtu nodded. His strength was much weaker than Grandma Cho and Kira. Therefore, the work of commanding and maintaining the barrier outside was left to him. If Granny Cho and the others fail, then what he has to do is to hold back Ryosuke Yagami as much as possible. Give others time to retreat. Brush. 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 One after another figures rush into the barrier. These people have no chance. One is not an elite member of the Ninja Alliance. Each one has the strength of an elite Jounin. And the leader is a shadow-level powerhouse like Granny Cho. Oh. Are you finally serious about it? When Yagami Ryosuke saw these people entering the barrier, he also smiled slightly and said, the ones on the opposite side are the old woman Cho from Tsunagakure, Kirabe from Kyomagakure, and the 2 Yuji people. Brush. Kirby was incredibly fast and appeared in front of Ryusuke Yagamai before everyone else. Yo! Are you Ryusuke Yagamai? What a terrible guy. It's rare that Kirby didn't rap this time. Although the tone of his speech still gave people a weird feeling, it was much more normal than rap. The eight-tailed Kirby can allow two-tailed beast Jinchuriki to join forces to deal with me, a Konoha Jounin, which is really flattering. Ryusuke. Yagamai said with a smile. He looked at Kirby in front of him, but he was thinking that he could collect the eight tails chakra and Kirby's biopheromone later. Maybe this is there are two talent entries for Jin and Purple. Even if it's just two purple entries, it's still pretty good. And don't forget that there are two Yukato, Kyumigakuru's two-tailed Jinchuriki over there. And Gran Macho. A veteran shadow-level powerhouse. These are three more purple entries. More importantly, Yagamai Ryusuke can collect the chakra of two-tailed beasts through this time. In the sealed space in his body, he is born the third and fourth-tailed beasts came. Brush. 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 Another figure was approaching. Granicho even directly released her strongest puppet, the 10 Shikamatsu people, looking at them as if they were ready to be tested. Ryusuke Yagamai has a very childish face in front of him. It seems that everyone is here, aren't there people from outside coming in? Ryusuke Yagamai glanced outside the barrier. Those coalition ninjas were increasing the output of chakra to maintain the operation of the barrier. The existence value of these guys is either to consume their own chakra or to maintain the barrier. Is the world moving? Yagamai Ryusuke thought to himself. But that's right, a group of ordinary Jounin and Chuyunin will just give away their lives if they come in. Unless they hit and run like before. Then they can barely survive. But what's the use? Apart from consuming his own chakra, it has no impact on Yagamai Ryusuke at all. It's better to use this chakra to maintain the operation of the barrier. After all, such a big barrier, and it has the characteristics of sealing time and space ninjutsu, and it can be imagined how much chakra is consumed. That is not the four purple flame formation that Orochimaru originally asked his four people to use in the Konoha collapse plan. Comparable. Ryusuke Yagamai, you must feel bad now that you were betrayed by someone in your own village, right? Gran Macho said calmly. Ah. Doesn't it feel good? In fact, no, after all, it had been expected. Ryusuke Yagamai looked unconcerned. In fact, he had already expected that guys like Mito Kadoyan would be dishonest. However, Ryusuke Yagamai has unprecedented confidence in his own strength. Regarding this, he doesn't take it to heart at all. Moreover, doesn't this just bring these people to his door? It even gives him an excuse to attack other ninja villages. You can't intercept and kill me, but I can't take revenge, right? What is the extent of this revenge? Ryusuke Yagamai has always believed in eradicating the roots. However, for the sake of the entry public enemy, Ryusuke Yagamai will still give these three ninja villages a chance to breathe. After all, any of their ninja villages are worth 100% of the bonus of ninjutsu power, taijutsu power, and physical fitness. No matter how hard Yagamai Ryusuke is willing to let them disappear completely in the ninja world. How uneconomical that is. Did you ever expect that you would die here today? If you want to read exciting novels, go to Filu Novel Network. Cho's cloudy eyes flashed with a cold light. Die here? Just you. Ryusuke Yagamai couldn't help laughing. I couldn't help it, this joke was so funny. Just these so-called allied forces of the three kingdoms. In Ryusuke Yagamai's eyes, they are just a bunch of chickens and dogs. No, do you know where the confidence comes from? You actually tried to say you could kill him. You really know nothing about real power. Ryusuke Yagamai looked at these people with contempt. You are really arrogant. The two Yuki people with blonde hair and pigtails looked at him and said. Arrogant, Ryusuke Yagamai smiled faintly, you will know if you try it later. Superior! Gran Macho shouted. In an instant, the 10 Chikamatsu people she controlled rushed directly towards Ryusuke Yagamai. Puppet. Just a pile of rubbish. Ryusuke Yagamai didn't even bother to pull out his ninja sword. He just dodged and punched. The terrifying power exploded in his fist, and with a bang, he blew up a puppet of Granicho. Be careful, this guy's physical skills are also very strong. Gran Macho reminded loudly. Thunder escape. Pseudo-darkness. Earth escape. Earth spear. Wind escape. More than people. Ryusuke Yagamai looked at the group of elite jonin who were surrounding him. The corner of his mouth curled up, and in the next second he clapped his hands to create more than a dozen wooden clones, killing these allied ninjas. All of a sudden, there were all kinds of screams. In one piece. In the hands of Ryusuke Yagamai, these elite jonin of the coalition are no more powerful than ants crawling on the ground. They are all rubbish that can be easily crushed to death. In just one encounter, except for Granicho and the other three, the rest of the elites, all the jonin, were killed by Ryusuke Yagamai. Of course. Before killing these elite jonin, he did not forget to collect their biological pheromones. Although people died, the biological pheromones were collected before death. So it's still useful. Although these biopheromone can only convert blue talent entries, they are still good for decomposing them into experience points. After all, each one is worth 100 experience points. Dozens of them, that's thousands. Get some experience. Just right. Yagamai Ryusuke has been short of experience points recently. Every time he accumulates some, he uses them to synthesize the 2 golden talent entries. So far, he has consumed so many experience points, but they haven't been synthesized yet. Success. Damn it! Gran Macho watched as several of Tsunagaku's elite jounin were killed, including Maki, who had tried his best to prevent this operation. They were all destroyed by Yagamai Ryusuke's wooden clones. In addition, her Chikamatsu 10 people were as fragile as rag dolls in front of Yagamai Ryusuke. 3 puppets were blown up in one encounter. And the attacks of the Chikamatsu 10 people were either blocked by Yagamai Ryusuke or blocked by Yagamai Ryusuke. He was easily dodged. It was completely unable to cause any substantial harm to him. How could this guy be so strong? Is everything in that information true? Not an exaggerated description. Gran Macho also regretted it at this moment. She had obviously decided before that she would never agree to participate in this operation unless the 4 major ninja villages joined forces. But later she was persuaded by that old guy Onoki. 1.1. Why is 1 missing? There is no difference between Kirigakuer. Now it seems that there is indeed no difference. Because no matter whether Kirigakuer comes or not, they can't seem to beat Ryusuke Yagamai. This guy is as strong as a monster. How did he practice? Yes, what about wood release? Why did you only use 1 wood release? Could it be that they are not worthy? In fact, Granicho really guessed it right. Yagamai Ryusuke did not use wood release, he really just felt that they were not worthy. How to deal with it? It's just a cage level and a group of elite jonin. Is it possible that he also wants to use ninjutsu like the Bokujin no Jutsu? That's too respectable for them. If you can just use taijutsu to fight, it's not just rubbish with 1 punch. Damn. If Granicho knew what Yagamai Ryusuke thought of them, she would be so angry that she would vomit blood on the spot, right? Being called trash. And this seems to be true. Wouldn't this make her so angry that she vomits blood? Rat tail ball jade. At this time, the figures of the 2 Yuki people suddenly appeared in the air behind Yagamai Ryusuke. She controlled the chakra threads with her hands and 10 fingers, and controlled a large number of fire rat jade to attack Yagamai Ryusuke from all directions. Let's see how you hide. The 2 Yuma people said coldly. Hide. Why should I hide? At this time, a voice suddenly sounded in the ears of the two Yama people. Immediately afterwards, a hand hugged her from behind, and then slammed her to the ground. Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries. Author, MRMO. Chapter 178. Boom. There was a loud bang. The two Yama people who were hit hard on the ground couldn't help but spit out blood. Brush. She gritted her teeth and endured the severe pain and disappeared from the spot. Then he looked at Yagami Ryuzuki, who was looking at him with a smile. Hateful. When did this guy run up behind me? The two Yuki people couldn't help but feel palpitations. If Yagami Ryuzuki hadn't thrown her to the ground with a hug just now, but stabbed her with the ninja sword on his waist, they would have died. Right? Damn it. Is the difference in strength really so big? The two Yama felt unwilling to accept it, and then their consciousness communicated with the airway in the body. Yalu, I need your strength. On the other side, Kiribi used the Aramon Heron sword and fought with a wooden clone of Ryusuke Yagami. Fool. Idiot. Fool. Kilabi cursed in a strange tone while watching his attack being easily blocked by the wooden clone. Kiribi, it's useless. This guy's strength has far exceeded the shadow level. Use my power, otherwise you won't even be able to defeat the opponent's wooden clone. At this time, the voice of the eight-tailed cow ghost sounded in Kiribi's mind. Fool. Fool. Okay, Niugui, lend me your power. Kilabi turned around to avoid it, and at the same time, a terrifying chakra emerged from his body. Ha! Kiribi shouted loudly, and the chakra gushing out of his body caused him to directly enter the state of half-tailed beast. In this state, his strength will increase dramatically. Far from what he could compare to before. Rotten wood, go to hell. Tailed Beast Jade. The half-tailed beast Kiribi directly released a tailed beast jade, and the terrifying chakra sphere exploded instantly, hitting the wooden clone in the distance. Boom. The shock wave set off by the huge explosion impacted the barrier. Barrier. Hold on. Lois shouted, and all the ninjas present were working hard to maintain the operation of the barrier. On the other side, inside the barrier, when the flames of the explosion dissipated, Kiribi, who turned into a half-tailed beast, also saw a group of snails. A shell-like wooden barrier appeared in the center of the explosion. Click. The wall of the wooden ingot cracked, and the intact wooden clone came out from behind. Is this the tailed beast jade? It seems normal. The wooden clone also inherited Yagami Ryusuke's poisonous tongue, looked at Kiribi and sneered with a smile. Fool. Asshole. Look at my continuous tailed beast jade. The half-tailed beast Kiribi spit out small tailed beast jade pieces one after another from his mouth, and a dozen tailed beast jade bombarded the wooden clone in front of him. Wood escape. The art of wooden man. The wooden clone clapped his hands and instantly performed the wooden man technique. A 20 or 30 meter tall wooden man instantly rose from the ground. Block. The wooden man opened his hands to block Kiribi's continuous tailed beast jade. Boom. 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 Continuous explosions sounded. The impact of the explosion pushed the wooden man back 20 or 30 meters. When the explosion ended, the wooden man's hands were only torn apart by the explosion. As the wooden clone infused chakra into the wooden man's body, this injury was quickly repaired. No, as the Eight Tails Jinhuriki, you can't even beat my wooden clone, right? The wooden clone stood on the wooden man's shoulder and started spewing rubbish at Kiribi. Fool. Asshole. How could this guy's wooden clone be so powerful? Ushiuki, I'm going to completely transform into a tailed beast. Kilabi shouted angrily when he saw that even the power of the half-tailed beast could not defeat a wooden clone of Ryusuke Yagami. Come on, this guy is too arrogant, I want to beat him up too. The eight-tailed ox ghost in Kiribi's body is also very angry. After all, he and Kirby both prospered and fell. The other party laughed at Kirby for being a noob. Wasn't he just laughing at him for being a novice with the eight-tailed ox ghost? So, no matter what, if he cooperates with Kirby, he must at least destroy a wooden clone on the opposite side, right? Otherwise, it will be too inferior. Completely transformed into a tailed beast. Ouch. Kirby, who was all black and red and had turned into a half-tailed beast, now erupted with far more terrifying chakra than before. At the same time, his size also began to increase dramatically. In just a few seconds inside, a monster nearly 90 meters tall appeared on the spot. The eight-tailed ox ghost. Completely transformed into a tailed beast. Tailed Beast Volume 8. Kirby, who had just completed the complete transformation into a tailed beast, immediately used a big move at this time. The eight-tailed Gyuki's 8 moves instantly rolled up to form a mountain of meat. The next second, a huge mountain of meat. Suddenly it rotated at super high speed, and the terrifying power instantly changed the surrounding terrain. The earth was torn apart by this terrifying twisting force. The wooden clone who controlled the wooden man on the opposite side also shouted and rushed forward, continuously resisting the attacks of the ferocious shockwaves caused by the tailed beast 8 volumes. Boom! 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 The terrifying tailed beast 8 volumes directly enveloped the entire barrier. If it weren't for the barrier blocking it, maybe the coverage area would be even larger. This time, Ryusuke Yagamai was fine. The power of the tailed beast Hakameki hit him like a little girl gently massaging him. Not only was he okay, but he felt quite comfortable. But Granicho and the two Yama people were in a worse situation. Especially Granmacho. The two Yokotos have also completely transformed into tailed beasts at this time, and with their strength, they can still withstand the impact of the 8-tailed beasts. But what about Granmacho? She is just an old shadow-level puppet master. At this time, less than half of the 10 Shikamatsu men who were the strongest under his command were defeated by Ryusuke Yagamai. The remaining puppets had rushed back to protect Granmacho while Kirby was using the tailed beast 8 scrolls. But that's the case, these puppets, as well as the machine light shield cast by Granicho, only resisted for a moment before being blown to pieces by the terrifying power of the tailed beast Bajuan. Granicho watched with a dark face as the puppets in front of her were blown up. What saddens her is not that the puppet is gone. But these puppets did not die in the hands of the enemy, but were blown up by her own teammates. This is so fucked up. Damn Kirby. Granmacho cursed in a low voice. She tried her best to rush out of the barrier and barely managed to save her life. Rumble. The terrifying vibrations in the barrier stopped after a few minutes. And the one who cast the 8-tailed beast scrolls Kirby is also looking for traces of Ryusuke Yagamai at this time, but the barrier is so dense with smoke and dust that he can't see things 10 meters away, let alone find people. Like, the 8-tailed bull ghost can also sense it. Technique. With the help of Ushiki, Kirby quickly sensed 2 chakras within the barrier. One of the chakras was so huge that even Ushiki felt his heart tremble, and it belonged to Ryusuke Yagamai. And the other one is from the two Yama people. Kirby, why don't we run? Niugui is a little timid at this time. To read Bao's Huang novels, go to Fila Novel Network. There is no way. He was also sealed by Senju Hashirama with one hand, and now he meets another successor. He was a ninja who had mastered the wood release, and the chakra in his body was even better than that of Senju Hashirama back then. This made Ushiki panic. He was afraid that he would be used by someone with one hand like he did back then. He pinched it, and then was forcibly sealed. He is now in Kirby's body, and he and Kirby are also friends. He lived a relatively comfortable life as a child. Except that he had no freedom, everything else was fine. He doesn't want to be sealed away and there will be no one to talk to. That will drive him crazy. Run. Is it too late? Just when Ushiuki proposed to escape, Yagami Ryusuke's figure had already appeared in front of the eight-tailed Ushiuki. The 90-meter-tall Eight Tails faced Ryusuke Yagami, who was about 1.8 meters tall. He was actually frightened. "You have to turn around and run. It's late. Spiral wheel danger." On Ryusuke Yagami's right hand, a black ball the size of a table tennis ball appeared. The black spiral wheel was surrounded by a white airflow like a star ring. As Ryusuke Yagami threw it out, the spiral chakra instantly turned into a black meteor and hit Kiribi, who had completely transformed into a tailed beast. Boom! The scorching white light instantly engulfed the entire barrier. The coalition ninjas who maintained the barrier instantly large mouthfuls of blood spurted out one by one, and the chakra in the body was emptied in an instant. Boom! The barrier that was originally maintained exploded instantly. A terrifying shockwave swept across, killing more than 100 ninjas in the coalition on the spot. Just now, Granny Cho, who escaped from the barrier, gritted her teeth and used the machine light shield. However, after only holding on for a few seconds, the machine light shield was blown into pieces. Then she was also struck by this force. It flew out and broke several big trees before hitting a half-collapsed mountain wall. Ahem! Granny Cho got up from the ground with difficulty, coughing. At this time, "So you are here." The figure of Ryusuke Yagami appeared in front of Cho. "You." Just as Cho was about to speak, he was kicked out by Ryusuke Yagami. Boom! Grandma Cho, who broke several big trees, was covered in blood. Her old body was trembling and she wanted to get up, but she couldn't do it despite trying several times. At this time, Ryusuke Yagami dipped his finger into a little blood belonging to Cho on the ground, and then put it into the system's biopheromone warehouse. "Can't waste it," he said, turning around and leaving, not caring about the dying Cho over there. "This old guy is dead. He was injured so badly. In addition, his body is old. He can't last long at all." Ryusuke Yagami is also too lazy to take action and expend that effort. Just let her fend for herself. Soon, Ryusuke Yagami found the two Yukito who had passed out. This guy was quite unlucky. At the beginning, he had just completely transformed into a tailed beast, but he still wanted to resist it. In the end, they met the tailed beast Hakimeki of the eight-tailed Jayaki, and was beaten like a baseball and flew around in the barrier. If it was just like this, the two Yukito would not have fainted. After all, they had already completely transformed into a 090-tailed beast. He would not be knocked unconscious by a tailed beast in 8 volumes. But later, Ryusuke Yagami fired a spiral wheel, and the shockwave generated by the explosion directly hit the two Yukito who had completely transformed into a tailed beast. Spiral Ryu itself is the destructive power of S-level ninjutsu. Coupled with the power of various ninjutsu on Ryusuke Yagami, the destructive power caused is more than 10 times greater than the tailed beast Jade of 9 tails. In suffering the impact of such a terrifying explosion at close range, the two Yama people could only hold on for a few seconds before they fainted. However, under the protection of the Airway Brigade, the Yama people were not injured. It's not serious, more like losing consciousness due to the impact. Yagami Ryusuke came over and slapped Yukito's abdomen, and directly used violent means to extract most of Futai Mataru's chakra from her body. "Come out." Yukito, who was in a coma, was also twitching all over. He looked like he was going crazy. After a while, Ryusuke Yagami stopped. "It's almost there, if you smoke it again it will be gone." Ryusuke Yagami took back his hand. His move was derived from the power of Mudun and the 9-sealed magic dragon that he learned from the Akatsuki organization. The effect is similar to that of the 9-sealed magic dragon, which is to extract the target, the tailed beast chakra in the body. But the efficiency is higher than that of the phantom dragon 9 seals. And it can be stopped at any time. You can draw as much as you want, so as not to draw it all at once, which will make the Jinchuriki become warped. Use a small amount. Part of the second-tailed Mata Brigade's chakra was separated, and it was only the amount of chakra of half a genin. System, convert entries. Yakami Ryosuke said silently in his heart. Ding. Conversion successful. Congratulations to the host for getting the talent entry, Two-Tailed Brigade, purple. Is it directly named after Airway Mata? It feels like the system is a bit lazy. Ryosuke Yagami thought to himself. Then he opened his character panel and checked the status of this new entry. Two-Tailed Mataru, purple, the second of the nine-tailed beasts, Two-Tailed Mataru, also known as the sexy little cat. Chakra at 500%. Ninjutsu power at 300%. Comes with two-tailed chakra. Not bad, at least it's much better than Shikaku's entry. It's worthy of the shame of a tailed beast. Ryosuke Yagami nodded with satisfaction. The words transformed from Airway Mataru's body were purple, which was as he expected. Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries. Author, MRMO. Chapter 179. At the same time, in terms of attributes, Shikaku is indeed stronger than Shame of the Tailed Beast. At least there is an additional 300% ninjutsu power bonus. This is something Shikaku doesn't have. Sure enough, even if there is just one more tail, that is still a gap. Shikaku, what rubbish. Equipped with this entry, the two-tailed beast chakras in the sealed space inside Ryosuke Yagami's body are added to one. Then, Ryosuke Yagami stuffed the two-tailed chakra that had just been extracted from Yukito's body into the sealed space, allowing the newly born two-tailed chakra to assimilate it. Because they are all the chakra of the second tail, it is very easy to assimilate. In just a few breaths, a new two tails was born in the sealed space inside Yagami Ryosuke's body. In terms of body shape, it is not smaller than the 9 tails and 1 tail in front. After all, Ryosuke Yagami took away about 80% of the two-tailed chakra from Yukito's body. It can be seen from this that the chakra of the other two-tailed beasts in the sealed space in Yagami Ryosuke's body has grown to be so huge, it is no less than 80% of the chakra of the two-tailed beasts. Let a wooden clone watch the two Yama people here. Ryosuke Yagami also turned around and found Kiribi. He actually ran away. Ryosuke Yagami looked at the unconscious Kiribi in the pit in front of him. There seemed to be nothing wrong with it, but according to Ryosuke Yagami's perception, it was clearly not the real Kiribi, but an 8-tailed octopus leg. That's it. Kiribi has a special ability, which is the octopus leg clone technique. Even the Mangekyo Sharinan can't see any flaws in this clone technique. However, with Ryosuke Yagami's powerful perception ability, he discovered that this clone technique was in front of him. There is too little chakra in Kiribi's body, so it is impossible for him to be the real Kiribi. In addition, Ryosuke Yagami knows that Kiribi has such an ability, so it is not difficult to guess the unconscious Kiribi in front of him. In fact, it's just an octopus-legged clone. Forget it, just run away, you already have the 8 tails chakra and Kiribi's biopheromone. Ryosuke Yagami shrugged, not caring about Kiribi's escape at all. Anyway, the monk can't escape from the temple. If you really want to settle the score, just go to Kumigakura directly. Pick up this part of the pit. Octopus legs and Yagami Ryosuke collected some more Kiribi's blood and put it all into the system's biopheromone warehouse. Today's transformation times have been used up. Therefore, the transformations of Kiribi and 8 tails can only be placed in tomorrow. Will be the day after tomorrow. There will also be Chos. You can put them in the day after tomorrow. By the way, we can't let go of those coalition ninjas either. They are all good materials that can decompose experience points. Ryosuke Yagami slapped his forehead and almost forgot about these little shrimps. However, thinking that many coalition ninjas were killed in the explosion just now, Ryosuke Yagamai couldn't help but feel a little distressed. These are all experience points. 100 is 10,000. How could he not feel bad? If he had known it earlier, he would have been more relaxed. Now he doesn't know how many people were killed? What a waste. Ryosuke Yagamai reflected on his wasteful behavior, and then immediately divided into hundreds of shadow clones. After all, it was a bit troublesome for him to hunt down so many ninjas by himself. Such a simple matter can be left to just let the shadow clones do it. A few minutes later, Ryosuke Yagamai, who was waiting at the spot, received the prisoners brought back by the shadow clones. These coalition ninjas were all unconscious when they were brought over. Some even fell asleep. They had broken arms and legs. They looked like they might be dying. As soon as Yagamai Ryosuke saw it, he immediately asked the shadow clones to collect the biological pheromones on them, especially those who were about to die. If they don't collect it, it will be wasted. Fortunately, most of those killed by the aftermath of the explosion were some Chunin. The entries that can be converted into Chunin are only green entries, each of which is worth 10 experience points. Even if hundreds of them are killed, it is only 1,000 points. 1,000 points is not a lot. Yagamai Ryosuke once again reflected on himself, and next time he must collect biopheromone first, and then use his powerful moves. Otherwise, everyone will die with one big move. He also collects shitty biological pheromones. No more experience points. It took some time for the shadow clones to collect all the biological pheromones of these ninjas. Ryosuke Yagamai counted them and found that there were probably more than 800 copies. Most of them were Jounin. Especially Jounin is also a Jounin. A small number of Shuyunin. There is also a rather special guy. Yagamai Ryosuke carefully identified it and finally remembered who this guy was. Onaki's son Lois. A quasi-film master. It's a pity, he was directly captured alive by Yagamai Ryosuke's shadow clone. What a shame. Putting aside the biological pheromones of Lois alone, this guy's strength is quasi-cage level, similar to that of a special Jounin among Jounins. Maybe it can be transformed into a purple talent entry? So take it out separately and put it aside. Just put them together with Joe and the others. What a great harvest. Ryosuke Yagamai looked at the group of coalition ninjas in front of him with a happy smile. You are really my money-giving boys. The captain of the transportation team is nothing more than that. They are all good people. Ryosuke Yagamai sighed, and then a flying thunder god disappeared. A few minutes later, bang. A large group of people were killed by Ryosuke Yagamai using the flying thunder god. Technique brought here. N.A. The prisoners are all here, take them all back and lock them up so that they can ask the villages behind them for ransom. Ryosuke Yagamai pointed at the bunch of unconscious ninjas in front of him and said to the group of Konoha ninjas behind him. So many people. These Konoha ninjas brought by Ryosuke Yagamai only knew that they were here to escort the prisoners, but they didn't know that there were so many prisoners. There were a lot of unconscious ninjas in front of them, the number must be 700 or 800. Good guy. Did this capture all the elite troops of the 3 ninja villages? In fact, it is almost the same. These ninjas in front of us cannot be said to be all the elites of the 3 major ninja villages. But at least 60 or 70% of them are. The loss of these people, for Tsunagakuer, Iwagakuer, and Kyumigakuer, can be said to be a heavy loss. It is enough to break the bones. Therefore, in order to redeem these people, they will definitely be willing to spend money. Escort these prisoners. The work must be coordinated by Yagamai Ryosuke, otherwise we can't really escort him back to Konoha, right? That would take too much time. And accidents are easy to happen in the process. So, read Bao's Huang novels, just go to Filu Novel Network. Yagamai Ryosuke directly asked the Konoha ninjas he brought to tie them up one by one, and then used the second stage teleportation technique of the Flying Thunder God technique that he exclusively developed. He tied them up in batches. Teleported back to the village. It took almost half an hour for Ryosuke Yagamai to send all 700 or 800 prisoners back to the village, and then he went back to pick up the prisoners who had been watched by the wooden clone. After the two Yuki people dispersed the wooden clones, they disappeared directly from the place with the Flying Thunder God technique. Konoha, a vacant property owned by Ryosuke Yagamai. Ryosuke Yagamai appeared in the house carrying the two Yuki people inside, and then put Yumu down. Little cat, if you don't want to die, you'd better advise this woman. If she dares to run around, you know the consequences. Ryosuke Yagamai said to Yukito, who was lying on the sofa. He did not say this to Yukito, but to the Futai Mataru inside Yukito. Although Yukito fainted, but Futamata Brigade is awake. At this time, Futamata Brigade in the sealed space is shivering and curled up in a corner. After hearing Yagamai Ryosuke's words, the black kitten also nodded repeatedly. It doesn't dare to disobey Yagamai Ryosuke's wishes at all. There is no way. Futao Mataru is really afraid of Yagamai Ryosuke. In fact, its fear of Yagamai Ryosuke is even greater than Senju Hashirama. This is the god of ninja who once sealed him. After all, Senju Hashirama could only seal it or kill it at most. But tailed beasts cannot be truly killed because they are the aggregate of chakra. As long as there are chakras in the ninja world, they will never disappear. At most, they will die for a period of time, and then they will be resurrected. But before that, Yagamai Ryosuke used Phantom Dragon 9 Seals Change to absorb the two tails. It regained 80% of its chakra. At first, it could still sense the existence of this part of its chakra. But then it completely lost its perception of this part of its chakra. It was as if they had completely disappeared. This is very strange. Abnormal. Airwaymata was extremely scared at the time. It was afraid that this terrible human would absorb all of its chakra. That would be 10,000 times more terrifying than killing it. Because it was not sure about this. Can the disappeared self be resurrected again? Airway. Matalu felt that the chance of his resurrection was really low. Therefore, it is extremely afraid of Yagamai Ryosuke, and treats Yagamai Ryosuke's words as if they are imperial edicts. Don't dare to disobey at all. Ryosuke Yagamai left the house directly after warning Airway for a while. He also wanted to tell Ino and the others that they were safe. And there is a party to attend tonight. There is no time to stay here and wait for the two Yama people to wake up. As for why the two Yama people were brought here alone? It's simple, those who are escorted away and locked up can be redeemed for money. But this woman, Yukito Ni. Ryosuke Yagamai had no intention of putting it back. Later words, just let her stay in Konoha and be a maid serving tea and water for him. I believe she will love this job. After all, what an honor it is to be a maid to the #1 man in the ninja world. No one else can grab such a good job. Ryosuke Yagamai feels that the two Yuki people should know how to be grateful. If he hadn't been kind-hearted, he would have imprisoned her with those ninjas long ago. Where would she be given such a good opportunity? So, she should be grateful. You should cherish this hard-won opportunity. Hokage's office. Ryosuke Yagamai knocked on the door, then opened it and came in. In the office, Tsunade was tapping her fingers on the table with a serious expression on her face. There were several people standing in front of her. Jiraiya is here too. Others including Nara Shikaku and Yamazaki Kiki were all present. Everyone is here. Ryosuke Yagamai walked in and said hello to them. Ryosuke, tell me what's going on. When Tsunade saw Ryosuke Yagamai finally coming, she quickly asked. It's nothing, it's just that these guys got the news and ambushed me in the Kingdom of Iron, and because their strength was so rubbish, I beat them all to the ground. Ryosuke Yagamai said in brief words. Ryosuke boy, you are the one. Jiraiya gave him a thumbs up. he, Li Zhao's, went to see it. There were more than 800 ninjas. Most of them were jonin. There was even Lois. Onaki's son was included. Moreover, he also heard that the body of Cho's old woman was found near the scene. There was also a Jinhuriki of Kyomagakure who was taken away alone by Ryusuke Yagamai. Such a power was actually taken away by Yagamai Ryusuke. Kami Ryusuke did it all by himself. And that was even when the enemy ambushed him in advance. Yagamai Ryusuke was so unscathed. Although he had already seen Yagamai Ryusuke's terrifying strength that night. But Jiraiya remained the same. I couldn't help but be surprised. Strong. So powerful. Jiraiya even thought that Ryusuke Yagamai could overwhelm the other four major nations by himself. Regarding the issue of intelligence leakage, do you have any targets of suspicion? Tsunade asked with a frown. She didn't care how Ryusuke Yagamai defeated the coalition forces of the three ninja villages. Because she knew Ryusuke Yagamai had this strength. What Tsunade is most concerned about now is who betrayed Ryusuke Yagamai. Revealed the root of their mission. Not surprisingly, they should be the two former Hokage advisors. Ryusuke Yagamai said, "Oh, by the way, plus Shimura says that guy's name is this, right she? Just arrest the three of them, and then control the three families first, and let Mr. Hai interrogate them carefully to know if they are right." Although it is just Yagamai Ryusuke's own guess. But he is basically certain that it is these three guys. Who else could it be? In the whole of Konoha, they hate themselves the most and wish they would die earlier. Isn't it just the three of them? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries. Author, MRMO. Chapter 180. Are you sure it's the three of them? No Sarutobi. Tsunade asked. Yagamai Ryusuke looked at Tsunade, and after seeing the other person's eyes, he understood instantly. If you think about it this way, it is true that the Sarutobi clan leader is quite suspicious, so let's arrest them all and interrogate him. Ryusuke Yagamai touched his chin and said in thought. By the way, take my wooden clone with you when you arrest people to prevent them from resisting and causing damage to the village. Ryusuke Yagamai clapped his hands as he spoke, and he immediately separated 4 wooden clones, one for each family. When the time comes to take his wooden clones to arrest people, I don't believe what they can do. Okay, let's not delay. Liu, you can lead the team to arrest people now. Tsunade is also very resolute. As soon as Yagamai Ryusuke finished speaking, she directly ordered Narashikaku to lead a team to arrest people. Narashikaku is such a smart person, of course he can hear what Tsunade said. Meaning. In fact, it is not important whether the 4 of them betrayed Ryusuke Yagamai. What is important is that this incident made Tsunade very angry. So she decided not to wait. She just took advantage of this opportunity. These families should be eradicated completely to avoid long nights and long dreams, and they will not cause any trouble in the future. The one who was ambushed this time was Yagamai Ryusuke. So he was safe and sound, and even captured more than 800 of the other party. Elite ninjas. But what about other people? They don't have the strength of Ryusuke Yagamai, can they avoid the opponent's ambush? Obviously not. That's why. Tsunade deliberately reminded Ryusuke Yagamai whether Sarutobi had been missed. Clan. And Yagamai Ryusuke also understood instantly, understood what Tsunade meant, and followed the trend and added the Sarutobi clan. As for the truth of the matter? Are the Sarutobi clan innocent? That is no longer important. Who let them be too close to the other 3 families? Let's call them unlucky. Just like the Senju of Zengjin, didn't Tsunade admit to being unlucky before? She can admit it, why can't the Sarutobi clan? Narashikakude following Tsunade's order, he went down and took away 4 wooden clones of Ryusuke Yagami. There were 4 wooden clones of Ryusuke Yagami with super cage level 703 strength. Neither Sarutobi nor Shimura could. There may be some kind of waste. This time, they are destined to be completely eliminated by the times. Ryusuke, I heard that Kyumigaku sent out Jinchuriki this time. After talking about dealing with the mole, it was the other's turn. Tsunade also looked at Ryusuke Yagami in front of her with a joking look. She had heard that Ryusuke Yagami was taken away alone. The 2 Yuki people of Kyumigaku. I heard that she was a very beautiful woman. Well, 2 Jinchuriki were sent over. Ryusuke. Yagami nodded and said. Did you send both of them? Tsunade was a little surprised, because she only heard about Yukito and I. Aren't there only 2 Yama people? Tsunade asked. Yagami Ryusuke shook his head and said Kiribi is here too, but that guy escaped by cutting off his tail. However, he took a hard blow from me, so there is a high probability that he will also be hit by a spiral wheel. Seriously injured. Even with the protection of the 8 tails, it will definitely not be uncomfortable for Kiribi to take a hard hit from the spiral wheel. The least serious injury is a serious injury. If it is more serious, he may even die soon. Raisin Ryu, is that your newly developed Raise-Non ninjutsu? Jiraiya looked very interested. Well, that's it. Ryusuke Yagami stretched out his right hand, and in the palm of his hand, a chakra that made Jiraiya and Tsunade feel their hair standing on end gathered into a black ball the size of a table tennis ball. Ryusuke boy, this thing won't explode, right? Jiraiya looked at the black ball in Ryusuke Yagami's hand with numbness. He felt a fatal threat from it. His intuition told him that he would die when facing this black ball. The same goes for Tsunade. Almost, he looked solemnly at the spiral wheel in Ryusuke Yagami's hand. Don't worry, I can control it. Ryusuke Yagami waved his hand and directly took back the chakra on the spiral wheel. Can this thing be recycled? Jiraiya exclaimed. Yagami Ryusuke looked at him with contempt. Jiraiya-sama, can you stop yelling like this all the time? This will make you appear ignorant. Jiraiya. With an embarrassed look on his face, Jiraiya glared at Ryusuke Yagami angrily, then licked his face and came over to ask how Ryusuke Yagami developed this move. Can you teach him? Ryusuke Yagami didn't mind teaching Jiraiya the Raise-Non technique. But he felt that Jiraiya would most likely not be able to learn it. He spent a lot of energy on this thing himself, used a large number of shadow clones, and researched day and night before he successfully developed it. In fact, Yagami Ryusuke is not sure whether his Raise-Non is the same thing as Uzumaki Menma's Raise-Non. Anyway, they look quite similar. Is it exactly the same principle? This is really hard to say. After all, Ryusuke Yagami has never seen Uzumaki Menma's Raise-Non. Really? After Yagami Ryusuke and Jiraiya described the key points of Raisin Ryu's move, Jiraiya showed a frustrated expression. There is a high probability that I will not be able to learn this technique. He shook his head and said. It's okay, in fact, the power of this move is different in the hands of different people. Normally, it is just an S-level ninjutsu, similar to the wind release spiral shuriken. Ryusuke Yagami comforted Jiraiya and said, as for mine, it is quite special. I increased the output of chakra. If I don't have dozens of shadow level chakras, I won't be able to use this effect. Come. Jiraiya, Tsunade. Listen. Listen. Is this something a human being can say? Dozens of cage levels of chakra? I'm afraid that apart from you, the only Jinchuriki in the world can meet this condition, right? Wrong. Except for the Jinchuriki of the 9 tails, the other Jinchuriki may not necessarily be consistent. After all, that's dozens of shadow level chakra amounts. Tailed beasts don't really have infinite chakra. It's just that the Kyuubi is special. Forget it, I'll continue to learn the wind release Raisen Shuriken. I think this move is very suitable for me, and Naruto also likes this move. The two of us can learn from each other's experience. Jiraiya shook his head and completely gave up on learning the spiral review technique. In fact, I still have a trick called the big spiral wheel. Ryosuke Yagami said. Jiraiya. Ahem. Seeing Jiraiya's depressed expression, Tsunade secretly chuckled a few times, and then said seriously, Ryosuke, I heard that you took the two Yuki away. Well, that's right. Ryosuke Yagami nodded and admitted honestly. After all, he had no intention of hiding it from the beginning. Now the upper echelons of Konoha are all his own people. Tsunade is his god sister. Jiraiya is Naruto's teacher. Nara Shikaku is the father of his good friend Shikamaru. To read cool novels, go to Fila Novel Network. Therefore, there is no need for Yagami Ryosuke to hide things like this, he can just say it openly. What are you going to do with her? Ka-fi. Tsunade stared at Ryosuke Yagami, looking like she was gossiping. Let her be a maid, I really need someone to serve me. Ryosuke Yagami said with a serious look on his face. Jiraiya. How did you say such shameless words in such a serious manner? In the past, Jiraiya always felt that he had the thickest skin except his teacher Hiruzen Sarutobi. But now that it looked like Yagami Ryosuke said these words so seriously, Jiraiya suddenly felt that he was still not thick-skinned enough. At least he couldn't do it like Ryosuke Yagami. I, Jiraiya, would like to call you the thickest person in the ninja world. Ryosuke Yagami didn't know that Jiraiya was complaining about his thick skin. But Ryosuke Yagami himself doesn't think so. He truly felt that it was a blessing for the two Yama people to become his maid. You must know that in the original timeline, the two Yama people were going to die at the hands of the Akatsuki organization, and were later reincarnated by the dirt. How tragic! But by becoming Yagami Ryosuke's maid, she doesn't have to die, and she doesn't have to be reincarnated from the dirty earth in the future. What is this if not a blessing? I am giving away benefits. Why can't you speak more forcefully? Is there a problem? Okay, just know it yourself. Tsunade didn't ask too much about Yagami Ryosuke's arrangements for the two Yuki people. Anyway, he captured them at home, and Yagami Ryosuke was also capable and qualified to keep the two Yuki people. Even if Yunyan knew about it, he wouldn't dare to fart. He could only pinch his nose and admit defeat. Even, he large ransom had to be paid to redeem the imprisoned Kyomagakure ninjas. This is reality. Whoever has a big fist has the right to speak and can do whatever he wants. Back then, Kyomagakure used despicable means to threaten Konoha, and in the end, Hinata and Hisashi died in vain. Isn't it because Konoha's fists were not big enough back then? Of course, there is also the reason why Konoha's top management is too useless. Otherwise, with the strength of Konoha back then, if they were to unite and fight Kyomagakure, the fight would not be impossible. Although Konoha lost the great killer weapon of the nine-tailed Jinchuriki at that time, after all, how old Naruto was at that time. But you must know that the Uchiha clan was still there at that time. Still one of Konoha's vital forces. As long as the top management of Konoha can discuss it properly with Uchiha, they will be willing to send their own clansmen to the battlefield. But what did the top management of Konoha do at that time? They immediately gave in. The reason? It's not that I can't beat it, but I think it's not worth it. The cost of a war with Kyomagakure is much greater than sacrificing a Hyuga Hisashi. Therefore, they would rather surrender in front of Union and sacrifice a Hyuga Hisashi. Nor is he willing to really start a war with Kyomagakure. To put it bluntly, the dead people are not themselves, nor their relatives. Of course they don't care. In the evening, Konoha Akimichi Grill. In a large private room, the top 8 graduates from this year's class and the 3 top graduates from the previous class were all present. Come, let's raise a toast to celebrate Shikamaru's successful promotion to Chunin. Ryosuke Yagamai has Hinata on the left and Ino and Kaoru on the right. Everyone raised their glasses to celebrate Shikamaru's promotion to Chunin. Shikamaru is fine, he is already a Chunin, but we are still Genin and we don't know how long it will take to be promoted to Chunin. Inyazuka Kiba took a sip of juice and murmured, looking very depressed. He was originally full of confidence in this year's Chunin exam. But in the end, he couldn't even make it to the finals. Thinking of this, Inyazuka Kibutsukaze had a look of resentment on his face. At this time, Shino next to him said it's no use entering the finals. I didn't get promoted either. Shino, you are worse off than me. I just didn't make it to the finals. You made it, but you became Shikamaru's backdrop. Inyazuka Kiba patted Shino's shoulder, as if you were more miserable than me and I'm happy. Shino's eyes under his sunglasses also rolled their eyes. He was too lazy to deal with this idiot. Speaking of which, shouldn't we congratulate Ryosuke for being promoted to an elite jonin? Naruto looked at Ryosuke Yagamai who was chatting with a few girls over there with envy. Damn it! Ryosuke is already an elite jounin like Kakashi-sensei, but in the end, I am still just a genin. When he thought about the last time he asked the lustful Sennin, why was he still a genin when he was obviously stronger than Shikamaru? As a result, the lustful Sennin pointed at his head. Naruto didn't react at first. But soon he understood that the lascivious Sennin this is saying that he is not smart. He was immediately very angry. Naruto, don't compete with Ryosuke. If you compete with him, wouldn't all of us be killed? Xiao Li laughed and said, looking like he was in a good mood. Because he has never experienced the days of lying in bed for a long time without being able to practice, Xiao Li has been in a good mood recently. Moreover, he heard that teacher Kai said that when the next Chunin selection is held, there is a high probability that he will be selected. Thinking that he may become a Chunin next year, Xiao Li feels very good. Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries. Author, MRMO. Chapter 181. At this evening's dinner, everyone ate and drank until around 9 p.m. before leaving the barbecue restaurant. After Yagamai Ryosuke settled the bill, he sent Hinata and the other three home respectively, and then went to Yui Kurane's house. Is the dinner party over? Yui Hong came out and opened the door for Yagamai Ryosuke, and said at the same time, why didn't you spend more time with your little girlfriends? Hinata and the others went home. Ryosuke Yagamai hugged Yui Kurane, waved his right hand lightly, and a soft wind closed the door behind him. Wait a minute, you smell like barbecue, go take a shower first. Zihihong pushed him away angrily, turned around, took a set of pajamas and threw it to him, asking him to take a shower. Together. Ryosuke Yagamai looked forward to it. No, I've already washed it, go quickly. Yui gave him a red look, and pushed him into the bathroom with a blushing face, and then closed the door. In the bathroom, Ryosuke Yagamai smiled, put his pajamas on the cabinet aside, then started to take off his clothes, and left. He got into the bathtub where hot water had been put. The water covered Yagamai Ryosuke's shoulders, and only his head was exposed. He took a deep breath and soaked comfortably in the warm hot water while thinking about the past few days. In the past few days, although he was leading Team 10 on missions, he would actually come back every night using the Flying Thunder God technique. And he did not go home to live. Basically, he did not stay at Yui Hong's house. Or stay at Hongdu's house for a night. 1, 3, 5, 2, 4, 6 will take turns. The important thing is to have a bowl of water balanced. Hong's skin is still not as thick as Hongdu's. Ryosuke Yagamai sighed with emotion. If it were Anko, he would definitely come over and take a bath with him right now. Speaking of which, Ryosuke Yagamai took a bath with a girl for the first time in the ninja world, and it seemed that he was still with Yujao. Let's go together? Thinking of 11 Yan, Ye Liang remembered that he hadn't seen 11 Yan for a while. Because he left the relationship with Umbu, he wouldn't see each other often. Let's go see Zian tomorrow. Yakami Ryuzyuk thought. After all, Uzuki Yojeo is also the type that Yagami Ryuzyuk likes, and there are actually some signs of a relationship between the two, but there are too many girls around Yagami Ryuzyuk. He is a bit busy. Come on. He has recently taken care of Anko and Kurane, and now it is time to take care of Yojeo. In this way, in addition to Hinata and their 3 young girlfriends, he also has 3 older girlfriends, Yui and Kurane, who are already adults. Girlfriends. Just 3 on each side. However, Ryusuke Yagami doesn't mind a few more. Anyway, he is in good health. He can cope with it. The next day, Ryusuke Yagami woke up early. He looked at the girl in his arms who was still there. Kurane Yui was sleeping soundly. Ryusuke Yagami also let her go gently, opened the door and walked out of the bedroom, and went to the kitchen to get a glass of water. By the way, the 8-tailed entries should also be transformed. Ryusuke Yagami thought that he was busy singing with Kurane Yui last night, but he was singing so happily that he forgot to transform the 8-tails entries, so he immediately took out a copy of the 8-tails chakra and let the system transform it. Ding! Conversion successful. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the talent entry, 8-tailed ox ghost, gold. Not bad. The 8-tailed entry is indeed golden. Ryusuke Yagami showed a satisfied smile on his face. Although he had guessed that the 8-tails entry would be golden before, it was just a guess after all. Now that he saw that the results lived up to his expectations, Ryusuke Yagami was naturally very happy. 8-tailed Ushio, gold rank second among the 9-tailed beasts. The 8-tailed beast is only inferior to the 9-tails in terms of strength. It is a combination of an octopus and a cow. Is this a moral decline, or is it an animalistic twist? Maybe only the immortal of 6 paths knows. Chakra at 700%. Ninjutsu power at 450%. Comes with the 8-tailed ogre chakra. Chakra at 6400%. Yagami Ryuzyuk did the math and found that the sum of these entries increased his chakra by an astonishing 64 times. This brought his total amount of chakra to almost 2000 shadow levels. There is more and more chakra. I wonder if the quality of chakra can be improved. Ryusuke Yagami touched his chin and thought. In addition, the entry attributes of the 8 bull ghosts are, as expected, much better than the previous 1 and 2 tails. 700% chakra bonus, and 450% ninjutsu power bonus. All are good attributes, and there is also a copy of the 8-tailed gypsy chakra that can be automatically generated. After Ryusuke Yagami equipped this entry, a new tail was born in the sealed space in the body. Beast chakra. Then he took out the 8-tailed octopus leg and threw it into the sealed space, allowing his 8-tailed chakra to assimilate it. However, the chakra on an octopus leg was only 5 of the 8-tailed total chakra. Only about %. After assimilation, only a mini 8-tailed image appeared in the sealed space. Compared with the other 3-tailed beasts, it was much smaller. The 1 tail in my body has exceeded the real 1 tail in terms of chakra content, but the 2 tail, 8 tail, and 9 tail are all a bit less interesting than the genuine ones. Especially the Kyuubi. Although the Kyuubi has more chakra than 1 tail. But the real Kyuubi, even if it is just a Yang Kyuubi, has much more chakra than the complete 8 tails. A Yang Kyuubi can the power exceeds that of the other 8-tailed beasts, let alone the complete 9 tails. The Yang 9 tails in the sealed space inside Ryusuke Yagami's body is far inferior to the complete 9 tails. Take your time. After a year or two, the Yang 9 tails in my body will be no worse than the one in Naruto, or even worse. Ryusuke Yagami said heartily. Because he just completed a B-level mission yesterday, Ryusuke Yagami also gave Class 10 a holiday today, letting them take a good day off and continue the new mission tomorrow. Ren. As the leader of the team, Ryosuke Yagamai had nothing to do during the student holidays. So he stayed at Yoi Kurane's house for a while in the morning, and after the two of them got tired of each other for a few hours, she was kicked out by Kurane Yoi. The reason was that she was unwell. Ryosuke Yagamai stood outside the door and touched his nose, smiled bitterly and turned around to play with Uzuki Yojeo. Just in time, he sensed Yojeo's chakra. In the training ground number 1. It seems that she has no tasks today, so she is practicing in the training ground. Somewhere in the training ground number 1. In front of a few wooden stakes, Uzuki Yogan has a serious expression on her face, holding a ninja sword in her hand. Practice swordsmanship. Sister Zian, it's so boring to practice alone, let me train with you. At this time, a voice suddenly appeared behind 11 Yan. She turned around subconsciously and struck with a knife. In an instant, the light of the knife split into 3 streams and struck the target from 3 different directions. Ding ding. Ding. Yagamai Ryosuke gently used his fingers to flicked away 2 rays of sword light, and finally clamped Zian's ninja sword with 2 fingers. Ryosuke, it's you. Uzuki Zian retracted her ninja sword, looked at Yagamai Ryosuke in front of her and said in surprise, I heard that you captured thousands of ninjas from other villages yesterday? And killed Cho of Tsunagakuer. Oh, they are just looking for death. I am a peace-loving person. Ryosuke Yagamai said with a smile. Uzuki Zian also smiled when he heard this. Ryosuke Yagamai loves peace? You know, his nickname is the Konoha Death God. But now I'm afraid it's also changed to the Shinigami of the ninja world. To read exciting novels, go to Fila Novel Network. Come on, Sister Zian, I'll be your sparring partner. Ryosuke Yagamai pulled out his ninja sword and said. Okay. I am worried that practicing alone is a bit boring. Uzuki Zian smiled and nodded. Yagamai Ryosuke suppressed his own strength to a level similar to Zian. Then the two started fighting, and the clanging sound of ninja swords kept ringing. Sand Hidden Village. In the Kazekige's office, the few remaining senior executives of Tsunagakuer were looking at the letter in their hands with a sad expression. The letter was sent from Konoha and was written by Tsunade, the 5th Hokage himself. The content is very simple. It requires Tsunagakuer village to compensate for previous actions, and to pay a large ransom to redeem their ninjas imprisoned in Konoha. Both Iwagakuer and Kyomagakuer received the same letter. Everyone, please stop talking and let's talk about it. How should we deal with this matter? Ebizo, as the senior citizen in the village, saw that no one else spoke at this time, so he had no choice but to ask first. Zero asking for flowers. In fact, yesterday, regarding the failure of their plan, the people sent to the news that the ninjas were captured by Konoha had already spread back. Although none of the ninjas from the other 2 villages could escape. Kiribi of Kyomagakuer escaped with the octopus leg clone technique. Therefore, he brought this news. At that time, everyone in Tsunagakuer realized that a big something bad happened. Originally they thought they would usher in Konoha's revenge. Unexpectedly, what I received was a compensation notice. It's just that the content and amount of compensation listed above are really too much for Tsunagakuer village to bear. Lord Ebizo, I wonder what the shadows from the other 2 villages said. At this time, everyone else looked at Ebizo and asked. They wanted to see how other villages handled this matter. If everyone unanimously decided not to agree to this compensation list, then they could also consider whether to reject or discuss with Konoha to reduce the amount. In short, if they really have to pay the amount on the list, then the entire Tsunagakuer village will have to live frugally for the next 10 years. The decisions of the other 2 villages are unclear, but there is a high probability that they will discuss with Konoha to reduce the amount of compensation. Ebizo answered their question based on his understanding of Oniki. As for Kyomagakuer's 4th generation Reikage, Ebizo doesn't know much about his character, but he is probably similar to the previous third generation ones. They all have bad tempers. So directly the probability of the answer is not high. Then let's discuss it with Konoha. This amount is too high. Our Sunagakure village can't afford such a price. The people present discussed it, and then came to this conclusion. We must discuss it carefully. Although they lost this time, they cannot let the Konoha lion speak loudly. If everything is to be followed according to the Konoha, yes said it. So will they continue to live in Sunagakure village from now on? Then let's discuss it. Ebizo nodded. He really has no experience discussing these things with these backers now. What he is most concerned about now is whether his sister Cho is still alive. On the other side, in the Tsuchikage office of Iwagakure village, Onoki is furious, smashing things in the office. Damn Konoha! How dare they? You actually asked me to pay compensation for ceding the land? Damn it! Onoki cursed loudly, and none of the surrounding Iwagakure jounin dared to speak. Only the young Kuratsuka was pulling his grandfather. This prevented Onoki from really smashing up the entire office. After a while, Onoki's anger also subsided a little. He sat down and said still angrily, contact the Hokage of Konoha and tell us that we do not agree to this compensation list and ask for renegotiation. Onoki didn't say no compensation, because he also knew that was impossible. Compensation must be compensated, and ransom must be paid. After all, as mentioned above, his son Huangtu was also among the captives. It was impossible for Onoki to watch. Should his son die? Moreover, the other ninjas are also the elite of Iwagakure. Without these ninjas, the strength of their village will drop a lot. What if Konoha really gets angry and wants to start a war? Their Iwagakure village can't beat Konoha now. At the same time, a similar thing happened in Kumigakure's Raikage office. It's just that the fourth generation Raikage's temper was even hotter than Onoki's. Azabi couldn't stop it in time. The Raikage smashed up the entire office, and almost even the Raikage building. Raikage-sama, please calm down. Mabai shouted helplessly. Azabuyi, how do you want me to calm down? Bai was seriously injured and is still in a coma. As a result, Konoha asked me to pay such a large amount of compensation, and even asked to cede part of the land of the Kingdom of Thunder. How dare they? The Raikage was so angry that he wished he could personally lead the team into Konoha and ask the fifth Hokage what he meant. What a pity. He just thought about it.